Welcome to the fantasy audiobook. Naruto. I, Minato Namikaze, dominate the ninja world. Chapter 81. Minato nodded slowly and said, "Let's go to the training ground together now." After saying that, he called everyone to rush to the training ground. Everyone looked at each other and followed Minato's pace. On the other side, Naruto and Sasuke came to a pavilion and sat down. Naruto looked at Sasuke's injuries and asked worriedly, "Is it really okay for you to lose so much blood?" Sasuke shook his head when he heard it. "These minor injuries are nothing to me now." At this time, the rough voice of the nine-tailed fox sounded in Naruto's consciousness. "Naruto, use my chakra to heal this kid's injuries, otherwise he will die." Naruto was a little surprised when he heard it. He didn't expect the nine-tailed fox to take the initiative to talk to him. Then he nodded, walked to Sasuke's side, and put his hand on Sasuke's shoulder. Sasuke felt the hand on his shoulder, and just as he was about to shake it off, he felt a violent but gentle chakra pouring into his body. Then Sasuke was surprised to find that his injuries were recovering at a speed visible to the naked eye. Naruto saw that Sasuke's originally bleeding wounds had all recovered, and he slowly breathed a sigh of relief. Sasuke saw that his injuries had recovered, and although he was a little reluctant, he still said to Naruto, "Thank you." Naruto was a little surprised to hear this, but still said, "Aren't we friends?" Sasuke also said, "Friends to us." At this time, a burst of applause came from not far away, and then the two heard a steady and powerful voice coming, "You two did a good job. I saw the embodiment of the will of fire in you too. Sasuke, your performance is very good. I hope you can keep up the good work." Sasuke was a little happy to hear this and said, "Yes. Hokage people." Minato smiled at Kakashi, Naruto and Sasuke in front of him, and then said, "Let me see the results of your three people's training." Everyone was shocked when they heard this. They didn't expect that Minato actually wanted to personally test the success of the three people's training. Quote, "Everyone present, except for Unohana Retsu who was just summoned, did not see Minato killed the third Hokage and the Konoha elders. Everyone has seen the powerful and desperate strength. Even now, thinking about it still makes everyone feel terrified." Quote, "Now you tell them that Minato wants to take action to test their strength. How can this not surprise everyone?" Jiraiya on the side reacted and said with a smile, "Minato, your strength is too high. If you attack, it would be a waste of talent." Just as everyone was discussing, a female voice as gentle as spring breeze came, "Minato, why don't you let me check the strength of the three people?" Everyone looked at the voice and saw Unohana Retsu slowly picking up a branch from the ground and looking at Minato with a smile on his face. Minato was a little surprised to see that it was Unohana Retsu, but still said, "In that case, the three of them will have to trouble." Unohana Lai smiled slightly when she heard this. Quote, "Then she came to the front of the three people, and said slowly with a smile on her beautiful face, 'Go ahead, let me see your strength.'" Naruto was a little surprised when he heard this. "Big sister, what are you doing?" Unohana Lai didn't say anything when he heard this, and signaled Naruto to take action. Quote, "Uchiha Sasuke on the side did not hesitate to directly hold a kunai and kill Unohana Lai. Kakashi was a little hesitant when he saw this, so he looked at Minato because she felt that this woman came with her teacher, so their relationship must be unusual. Minato noticed Kakashi's gaze at him, and knew that Kakashi was considering the relationship between him and Unohana Lai, so he nodded slightly to Kaka, indicating that the other party didn't need to care and just take action directly. Kakashi saw his teacher's signal, and he also stared at Unohana Lai in front of him, because he felt a crisis of death from Unohana Lai, which Kakashi had never experienced before. Then Kakashi held a kunai and attacked Unohana Lai. Naruto on the side saw. Kaka also rushed towards Unohana Retsu. Naruto no longer hesitated to use his signature ninjutsu, the multiple shadow clone technique, and hundreds of shadow clones appeared on the battlefield in an instant. Unohana Retsu saw this, with a pair of beautiful eyes, looking at the hundreds of shadow clones in front of him with some surprise, obviously did not expect Naruto to have such a move. At this time, the three Magatama in Sasuke's eyes spun wildly, looking for Unohana Retsu's flaws, and saw hundreds of Naruto's shadow clones rushing towards Unohana Retsu. The shadow clones rushing towards Unohana Retsu were blown away by the huge spiritual pressure emanating from Unohana Retsu before they got close to Unohana Retsu. Boom! All the shadow clones turned into a cloud of smoke in the air and disappeared in the air. Kakashi on the side saw this. A trace of solemnity flashed in his eyes. The other party destroyed hundreds of Naruto's shadow clones just by relying on the power emanating from his body. This power was too abnormal. Quote. Anyway, Kakashi asked himself that he couldn't do it. How much chakra would be needed to destroy the enemy's shadow clones with only his own chakra? But Kakashi didn't know that Unohana Retsu used not chakra but spiritual pressure. Originally, Kakashi thought that he had the cells of the Uchiha clan and the first generation of Hashirama, and opened the legendary Mangekyo Sharingan, which made him a strong man among the shadows. But now he found that he seemed to be unable to beat even a woman next to Minato teacher. It seems that he thought too simply. Sasuke appeared behind Unohana Retsu in a flash, with lightning power emanating from his hands, and hit Unohana Retsu directly. Just when Sasuke thought that his attack hit, a gentle female voice sounded behind Sasuke. The speed and strength are too slow, and then he used a branch to hit Sasuke out. Sasuke. Naruto, she is too fast, be careful, Naruto heard. I know, Kakashi teacher. Then Naruto condensed a blue ball in his hand and hit the slowly approaching Monohana Retsu. Quote. The Rasengan hit Unohana Retsu firmly. Naruto exclaimed, I hit it. Unohana Retsu's figure appeared behind Naruto. Naruto felt something pressing against his back, turned around and saw Unohana Retsu looking at him with a smile on his face. Naruto was so scared that his face turned pale, and he said with all his strength, can you not hit my face? Then Naruto screamed and flew backwards. Quote. Then he looked at Kakashi on the side. Seeing this, Kakashi did not dare to be careless. He quickly opened the 3 Magatama Sharingan and looked at the woman in front of him vigilantly. At this time, Naruto and Sasuke, who were knocked to the ground, slowly stood up and looked at Unohana Retsu. The 3 of them looked at each other, understood each other's meaning, and performed ninjutsu towards Unohana Retsu at the same time. Fire style. Great fireball technique. Lightning style. Chasing fang. Wind style. Rasenshuriken. Suddenly, Jiraiya on the side exclaimed, Naruto, this stinky boy, actually has such a powerful ninjutsu. Minato Namikaze saw Jiraiya so surprised, not only asked, Jiraiya teacher, you don't know, Jiraiya shook his head and said, I really don't know this one. Minato remembered that in the original Naruto anime of his previous life, Naruto at that time seemed to have not yet learned this S-level ninjutsu, which seemed to be called wind style, Rasenshuriken. I remember that Kakuzu died under this move. The battle between the 4 people on the battlefield continued. As the ninjutsu of the 3 people was released, the scorching heat was accompanied by a giant wolf with lightning all over its body. Under the blessing of Naruto's wind style, the power of the ninjutsu performed by the 3 people increased by many times. Unohana Retsu saw this. Her gentle face did not change at all. She just slowly raised a white jade hand and recited, the 81st Duenkong of Binding Dao. A white air wall rose from the ground and blocked Unohana Retsu's body. Then the attacks of the 3 people also arrived and collided with the Duenkong, making a deafening sound. Then the powerful aftermath of the 4 people spread to the surroundings, blowing the surrounding trees to the ground, and large and small cracks appeared on the surrounding ground. The 3 people stared at the smoke with nervous faces, feeling a little nervous and worried about Unohana Retsu's safety. After all, the power of the attack just now was not small, and the 3 people could not guarantee Unohana Retsu's safety. Among them, Naruto was the most worried, because she felt that this gentle big sister had an unusual relationship with Minato. Just when everyone was worried, a gentle female voice came from the smoke. The attack you 3 launched together was pretty good. It actually made me a little interested. How could it be? She was unscathed. Impossible, absolutely impossible. The 3 of them were shocked, and Naruto and Sasuke were better. Kankin-shi saw this and a solemn expression appeared on his face. My current strength has reached the level of a cage-level warrior, but even if the 3 of them joined hands, they couldn't break the opponent's defense. At this time, Minato's voice came from the side. You 3 performed very well this time, especially you Naruto. If I'm not mistaken, your ninjutsu may have reached S level. Naruto scratched his head a little embarrassedly after hearing Minato's evaluation and said, "In fact, it is also thanks to the help of Kakashi and Sasuke that my ninjutsu can be used to its full power." Minato continued, "Kakashi and Sasuke, you two performed well. In fact, I can see that you three still have many moves and many ninjutsu that have not been used, right? Especially Kaka, I see that the white fang blade on your back seems to have not been pulled out yet." The three of them nodded when they heard this, and Minato continued with a smile, "In fact, you three don't have to be discouraged. Sister Wa is very strong and has reached the super cage level." The three of them felt a little unbelievable when they heard this. They couldn't believe that the gentlewoman in front of them actually had some super cage level strength, which was a strength that could be compared with the god of the ninja world. The three of them were also somewhat fortunate that they could actually fight with a super cage level master. Minato still didn't tell Unohana Retsu's true strength. After all, that was the power of the Six Paths level, and no one would believe it if he told it. Jiraiya heard this. "I was a little shocked in my heart. You know, his strength itself belongs to the upper middle level among the cage level masters, and he can even step into the super cage level after opening the Sage mode." As a result, now Minato told him that there was a super cage level master standing in front of him. How could Jiraiya not be surprised? On the other side, Hoshigaki Kisame rushed back to the Rain Village with the unconscious Uchiha Itachi, put the unconscious Uchiha Itachi in the room, and then hurried to find Nagato and told him about the mysterious masked black-robed man he met at the border of the land of Earth. Nagato asked Kisame to retreat and asked the short-haired woman beside him, "What do you think of this matter, Konan?" Konan shook her head and said, "Let's notify everyone to hold an emergency meeting." Nagato thought what Konan said made sense, so he nodded and said, "Konan, please notify everyone about this matter." Konan nodded slightly and turned away. Nagato looked at the sky outside with a pair of purple eyes and sighed slightly. The ninja world is going to change. Soon, a group of guys wearing Akatsuki uniforms gathered in the meeting room. Deidara, with long yellow hair, said in a somewhat unhappy tone, "I really don't know why the leader called us here again. We just had a meeting here half a month ago." The red sand scorpion, with short red hair, glanced at Deidara who was complaining and ignored him, but focused on his puppet. The old man Kakuzu looked at Deidara with a pair of green eyes and thought, "If it weren't for the leader, watch here. I will definitely kill this noisy guy, dig out his heart as my spare heart, and exchange the body for a bounty, because his previous partners did the same thing." Quote. And the leader didn't say anything. Hoshigaki Kisame looked at everyone and said nothing. He just stood there quietly being a handsome man. Not long after, Tendo Pain and Konan appeared in front of everyone. Everyone shut up immediately. Tendo Pain, a pair of purple eyes swept over everyone present, and slowly said, "Why hasn't a Fae come yet?" Deidara saw this and pouted. "Who knows, I don't know what this guy is doing every day, a newcomer is a newcomer." Quote. Senior Deidara, isn't it not good to say bad things about others behind their backs? Quote. Then everyone saw a Fae with a vortex mask on his face, slowly walking over. Seeing this, Tendo Pain slowly said, "Since everyone is here, I will talk about the current situation. As far as the current situation is concerned, our plan to collect tailed beasts must be put on hold first." Everyone was puzzled when they heard this. Deidara on the side asked a little unhappy, "Leader, why do we have to put the plan on hold?" Pain heard that it is because there are variables that we cannot control in the current ninja world. Everyone fell into deep thought when they heard this, and then Uchiha Obito on the side slowly said, "You are talking about Konoha's fourth Hokage Namikaze Minato." Pain nodded slowly when he heard this, and everyone also understood the reason why their leader wanted to put the plan on hold. Uchiha Obito was a little anxious when he heard this. Nagato was a tool selected by himself and Uchiha Madara. If this guy postpones the plan for a few years, how can he revive Uchiha Madara, how can he realize the Munai plan, and how can he stay with his beloved Lin forever, so Uchiha Obito can never accept it. Then Uchiha Obito said, "Although the Golden Flash is very powerful, don't you still have the leader? Aren't you even his opponent?" The few people on the side also showed curiosity on their faces when they heard it, wanting to see what their leader would say. After all, their leader's strength may have reached the Super Shadow level. They are all shadow-level strongmen, but they are still not enough in front of the leader. Nagato slowly said. I'm not sure about this, because we haven't officially met with Namikaze Minato until now. Everyone nodded slowly when they heard it because they really haven't fought with Minato. Nagato paused and continued. In order to avoid great resistance when capturing the tailed beasts, I decided that our Akatsuki organization would recruit powerful S-class rebel ninjas from outside. Everyone was shocked to hear that their leader was going to recruit S-class rebel ninjas from outside. Uchiha Obito on the side was also thinking about it. I don't understand why Nagato is still waving rebel ninjas. Suddenly, the face under the mask frowned slightly. Could it be because of the appearance of Minato teacher? Thinking of this, Uchiha Obito's face under the mask was so gloomy that water could drip out. Nagato saw that everyone had different expressions on their faces, and continued expressionlessly. Kisame and Itachi were attacked when they were on a mission in the land of Earth. At this time, Nagato looked at Kisame. Seeing this, Kisame knew that this was his leader, asking him to tell the situation at that time, so he cleared his throat and said, I remember that Mr. Itachi and I went to the bounty hunter's place, issued a task to surround and kill Konoha's 4th generation Hokage Namikaze Minato, and nothing happened when they came back. As a result, when we arrived at the border of the land of Earth, Mr. Itachi suddenly found that someone was following us, so Mr. Itachi opened the Uchiha clan's Mangekyo Sharingan. At this point, Kisame deliberately paused. Quote, everyone saw Kisame stopped, and they all said anxiously, why don't you continue? Did Uchiha Itachi kill that black-robed masked man? Seeing this, Kisame's expression was serious. It was that black-robed masked man. Mr. Itachi fell down with just one look. Quote, everyone was a little surprised when they heard this. They didn't expect that such a powerful guy like Uchiha Itachi was knocked down by the other party's eyes. The other party was from the Uchiha clan like Mr. Itachi. Kisame remembered what happened that day and said solemnly, the other party also has the same eyes as Mr. Itachi. The Akatsuki organization who were watching the show on the side exclaimed, could it be the Mangekyo Sharingan? Kisame nodded slowly to indicate that everyone had heard correctly. Quote, at this time, Obito, who was disguised as White Zetsu Afe, suddenly said, this is impossible. Didn't Uchiha clan all get killed by Uchiha Itachi, except for his useless brother? Kisame heard Afe asking him, and shook his head slightly to indicate that he didn't know. Seeing this, Obito's face under the mask looked a little ugly. He thought to himself, something is beyond his control again, but the most important thing now is to find out who the black-robed masked man is, and how he can have the Uchiha clan's Mangekyo Sharingan. So Uchiha Obito decided that he would go and find out after Uchiha Itachi woke up. After all, he was also a member of the Uchiha clan on the night of the extermination of the clan that year. He knew very well whether there were any survivors of the Uchiha clan. Now there is another person from the Uchiha clan, and he has opened the Mangekyo Sharingan, which may disrupt his plan. Nagato continued, from now on, everyone in the Akatsuki organization must wear black when performing tasks. The ninja with a mask on his face, according to my guess, his strength is probably among the most powerful among the cage-level strongmen, so our Akatsuki organization needs such talents. Everyone nodded and agreed with what their leader said. Obito, what do you think we should do next? White Zetsu asked worriedly. Obito's face under the mask was a little gloomy when he heard it. He didn't expect that the matter of his teacher Minato Namikaze had not been resolved yet, and now a mysterious masked man appeared. Obito took a deep breath and tried to calm his depressed mood for a long time. Looking at the Black Zetsu who slowly appeared beside him, he asked, Black Zetsu has, but I haven't found any news about Konoha village. It seems that there is a force in Konoha village that blocks me, so I can't get into Konoha village. Obito heard it, nodded and asked, is there anything else? There is that the old man, the 3rd generation Tsuchikage, seems to have some small friction with the old man, the wreckage of the Hidden Cloud village, recently. I don't know if it's deeper. Quote, on the other side, in a plain house in the land of Earth, an old man sat on a throne, with a middle-aged man and a girl who looked to be about 16 or 17 years old standing beside him. They were his son and granddaughter. He sighed and said, what does the 4th wreckage, a simple-minded but strong-limbed guy, want to do? Is he really going to go to war with our Iwagakure village? The girl beside her heard this, with a trace of anger on her delicate face, and then said to Onoki beside her, Grandpa and his friends are too much, so why not go to war with their cloud village? Hearing this, Onoki looked at himself helplessly on his old face. The silly granddaughter, who was overwhelmed by anger, shook her head and said, Silly girl, you only know one thing, not the other. What do they have in the cloud village? There are two-tailed beasts. The two are wooden people and killer bee, and they are both perfect Jinchuriki, who can be completely tailed beasts. What do we have? Four-tailed Jinchuriki. Joke. According to my guess, the strength of the tailed beasts is divided according to the tails. Haven't you seen the Konoha village? Why don't other ninja villages dare to attack the land of fire? The third-generation Hokage Sarutobi Hiruzen and Shimura Danzo are indeed powerful, but they are not enough to make the Cloud Village dare not attack Konoha. At this time, Kuretsuchi on the side blinked, and said with a pair of bright big eyes, Grandpa, you mean that it is because of the 9 tails that the hidden Cloud Village dare not attack Konoha? Onoki heard his granddaughter say this, nodding in approval, yes. Otherwise, can we rely on Sarutobi Hiruzen and Shimura Danzo, that coward? Kuretsuchi was a little puzzled when he heard this, and asked, Isn't the third-generation Hokage of Konoha village known as the strongest Hokage in Konoha village? Onoki looked at his innocent granddaughter, who was influenced by Sarutobi Hiruzen's will of fire, and couldn't help but secretly admire Sarutobi Hiruzen's brainwashing method. Then Onoki showed disdain on his face, silly granddaughter. That was Sarutobi Hiruzen's method of fooling people, in order to increase his influence in Konoha village. If he was the strongest Hokage in history, wouldn't your grandfather be the strongest Tsuchikage in history? Speaking of this, Onoki burst into laughter. But the old man Sarutobi Hiruzen never thought that the prestige he had worked so hard to build up would finally come true. With the death of Sarutobi Hiruzen, the prestige he had built up for many years was transferred to Namikaze Minato. Then a ninja's voice was heard from outside the door, report to the third Tsuchikage. The battle report came from the front line. The Cloud Village sent elite Jonin, causing heavy losses to our Rock Village. More than 300 ninjas, 120 died, more than 50 ninjas were seriously injured, and now there are only more than 100 people who can fight. Onoki's face darkened when he heard the words, and he said to the ninja who delivered the battle report, You go down and rest first. The ninja smiled with relief when he heard the words, and slowly left the Tsuchikage office. Onoki couldn't help it anymore when he saw the other person leaving. He slapped the precious table in front of him. Under Onoki's angry palm, the table was broken into pieces and turned into debris on the ground. He angrily cursed. This fourth Raikage, Wangtu, you quickly notify the ninjas in the village to prepare for battle. Kuretsuchi, bring me the pen and paper. I want to write a letter to the fourth Hokage of Konoha village, Minato Namikaze. Kuretsuchi was surprised and said, Grandpa, what are you going to do? Onoki said slowly, although we are not the opponent of the Cloud Ninja village, if Konoha knows that we are going to war with the Cloud Ninja, do you think Konoha will unite with us to deal with the Cloud Ninja village? After all, our Rock Ninja village and the Cloud Ninja village have an irreconcilable grudge. During the Third Ninja World War, the father of the fourth Raikage, the third Raikage, who was known as the strongest shield and the strongest spear, died in the human wave tactics of our Rock Ninja village. Konoha village also has a considerable conflict with Kumogakure. According to the information I have obtained, although Konoha tried its best to block the news, some news still came out. 10 years ago, in order to obtain the blood boundary of Konoha Hyuga clan, Kumogakure sent the envoy of Kumogakure to Konoha village to sign a peace agreement on the pretext of negotiation. At night, they sneaked into Konoha village to steal the heir of Hyuga clan, but were killed by the patriarch of Hyuga clan. Later, Kumogakure threatened Konoha with the killing of the negotiation envoy, asking Konoha to hand over the murderer. The Konoha high-level officials headed by Sarutobi Hiruzen chose to compromise. And they also put pressure on the Hyuga clan in their own village very weakly. Let the Hyuga clan hand over the murderer. Hearing this, Kuretsuchi said, I'm a little anxious. Tell me what happened to Grandpa later. Okay. The one who killed the Kumogakure was the Hyuga clan leader, Hyuga Hiyashi, so there was no choice but for Hyuga Hiyashi's younger brother, Hyuga Hiyashi, to commit suicide in his brother's place. Kuretsuchi was puzzled when he heard this, and asked Onoki beside him, "Grandpa, didn't you say that Konoha was the strongest village?" Onoki shook his head slightly when he heard this. That was just the past. Konoha has the famous Konoha White Fang Hatake Tsukumo, the Konoha Three Ninjas, and the Golden Flash Namikaze Minato and Uzumaki Kushina behind them. Of course, they are the strongest. But Grandpa, how can you be sure that Konoha village will help us? Onoki heard this and laughed. If the Hokage is still Sarutobi Hiruzen, he will definitely not help us, but the current Hokage is the fourth Hokage Namikaze Minato. Kuretsuchi heard this. His bright eyes narrowed slightly, and smiled sweetly. "Grandpa, why don't you let me take this letter and go to Konoha village to ask for help from the fourth Hokage Namikaze Minato?" Onoki, who was standing aside, heard this and knew what his granddaughter was thinking. Isn't it just to go to Konoha to see if the fourth Hokage looks good? Onoki didn't expose this. After all, girls are thin-skinned. So, Onoki handed the letter that he had written when they talked just now to Kuretsuchi. "When you arrive in Konoha, pay attention to the etiquette and don't let the people of Konoha village see our jokes." Onoki called 2 guards and said, "You two and Kuretsuchi go to Konoha village. Remember to be safe on the road." The 3 of them bowed slightly to Onoki and turned away. When Onoki saw the 3 of them leave completely, the smile on his face slowly faded, and his pair of old and turbid eyes were bright and shining. At this time, the tall and burly Wangtu walked in and said, "Father, everything is ready, just waiting for your order." When Onoki heard this, a trace of solemnity flashed across his old face, and he walked out first. Wangtu hurriedly followed him. So far, under the leadership of the third-generation Tsuchikage Onoki, 3,000 ninjas were fully armed and rushed to the border of the Land of Earth. On the other side, in the Land of Lightning, the Cloud Village, this is a place surrounded by mountains. In the office of the Raikage in the Raikage building, a muscular man with dark skin, thick eyebrows and big eyes sat in the middle seat. This man was none other than the leader of the Cloud Village, the fourth Raikage Eye. Standing next to him was a tall woman with a healthy wheat-colored complexion. The woman had short red hair. He was the assistant of the fourth Raikage, Ma Bui. There was also a man and a woman next to them. The woman had a head of rice-brown hair tied into a braid that fell to her hips. Her face was beautiful and gave people a feeling of being a beautiful girl from a small family. Another big man kept mumbling in his mouth. Rock was wearing a pair of sunglasses and a hood on his head, which tightly wrapped his head. He was the brother of the fourth Raikage. He was also the 8-Tails Jinchuriki of the Cloud Village, Killer Bee. The woman next to him was also the 2-Tails Jinchuriki of the Cloud Village. The two were wooden people. The fourth Hokage standing by couldn't help but see veins popping up on his forehead when he saw his brother like this. His fists were hard, and he couldn't help but roar, "Listen to me, you idiot. Shake it, Baga Yalu. Big brother is a fool." Killer Bee saw his big brother's look and said disapprovingly. Ding ding ding. Just when the fourth Raikage was about to get angry, a knock on the door interrupted the two. Seeing this, the fourth Raikage took a deep breath and adjusted his emotions and continued. "Come in." A sturdy ninja wearing a forehead protector from the Cloud Village came in from outside the door. He knelt on one knee and said, "Lord Raikage, there is news from the front. Captain Darui led more than 100 ninjas and eliminated half of the Iwagakure ninjas stationed at the border of the Land of Earth. Good job. If the opponent's cage-level strongman comes, don't act rashly. You can come back directly if necessary. I will also send Yukito and Killer Bee to support." The Cloud Village ninja showed a touch of joy on his face when he heard this, and then retreated. On the other side, Minato was discussing spiritual pressure with Unohana Retsu and Rukia in the Hokage's office. At this time, the door of the Hokage's office was knocked. Minato frowned and said, "Come in." Then he saw the long purple-haired Anbu ninja Azuki Yugao walked in, looked at Minato and slowly said, "Hokage-sama, the third-generation Tsuchikage of the Rock Village in the Land of Earth has sent his granddaughter Kuretsuchi as the envoy of the Rock Village. Now, they have arrived at Konoha Village." Minato was a little surprised when he heard this, so he asked, "Did they say why they came?" Azuki Yugao shook his head slightly when he heard this, and said, "They didn't say what the specific matter was, but they said they came to find Hokage-sama for something important." When Minato heard Azuki Yugao say this, a thoughtful look rose in his heart, and then he raised his head and said, "You go and notify them to come over." Azuki Yugao nodded slightly when he heard this, and slowly retreated to do the task assigned by Minato. On the other side, Kuretsuchi was waiting anxiously at the entrance of Konoha village. He said to Gang Ziti and Shenyu Izumo who were watching the gate, "I really have something to ask you, the fourth Hokage. Please help me, brothers. Let the three of us go in." Just as they were grinding their teeth here, Azuki Yugao, who came out of the Hokage's office, finally arrived. She looked at Kuretsuchi, who looked anxious, calmly, and slowly said, "Come in with me. The Hokage wants to see you." Kuretsuchi, who was standing by, was overjoyed when he heard this. On the surface, he still looked calm and indifferent. He slowly said, "Thank you very much." Then he followed Azuki Yugao and his group to the Hokage's office. Minato was sitting in the Hokage's office, enjoying the treatment of an emperor. Unohana Retsu rubbed Minato's shoulders, and Rukia fed Minato tea. He was so happy. Just as Minato was enjoying himself, a familiar knock on the door came again. Unohana Retsu, who was rubbing Minato's shoulders, smiled and slowly left behind Minato. Rukia did the same. Minato cleared his throat and said to the outside, "Come in." Azuki Yugao let a few people in. Minato saw a girl who looked about 16 or 17 years old following Azuki Yugao. The girl was wearing a forehead protector from the rock village, a pair of big eyes that were very smart, a white and jade-like face, a pretty face, and a pink cherry mouth. She was wearing a ninja vest from the rock village on the outside, a red short-sleeved tights on the inside, and fishnet pants on the bottom, which made her already slender legs even more seductive. This was also the first time Minato saw the legendary leg shadow in Naruto. It must be said that this pair of long legs was really amazing. Wrong, being a gun stand. Ah, no, it's a pity not to ride a tricycle. The appearance is impeccable and the figure is okay. This is also the first time that Kuretsuchi saw it in the true sense. Golden flash Namikaze Minato, a pair of beautiful eyes slightly lit up. What my grandfather said to me before was indeed right. The fourth generation Hokage is really handsome, with golden hair, a pair of deep and spiritual blue eyes, handsome face, and a kind temperament, but why is my heart beating so fast? Minato looked at the blushing girl in front of him, and slowly said, "What does the third generation Tsuchikage ask you to come to me for?" Kuretsuchi, who was standing aside, saw Namikaze Minato and called his grandfather as the old man. He was a little happy in his heart. Isn't it true that he was stunned for a while, and his little face was flushed red, like a ripe apple? When Minato saw this, he was not angry, but instead had a bad feeling in his heart. Could it be that the special skill, friend of women, given by the system would have an effect on Kuretsuchi? Thinking of this, Minato coughed slightly. Kuretsuchi, who was lost in his imagination, slowly came back to his senses. Seeing that the eyes of the people around him were all focused on him, he couldn't help but feel embarrassed and secretly cursed himself for not being good enough. It's not like he hasn't seen handsome guys before, but Minato is much more handsome than them. Then he bowed slightly to Minato and said, "Hokage, this is a letter written to you by our third generation Tsuchikage." Minato was a little surprised to see this. He looked at Kuretsuchi's hand and saw that the other party was holding a letter. Rukia, who was standing by, slowly walked forward, glanced at Kuretsuchi, then took the letter, walked back to Minato's side, and handed the letter to Minato. Minato took the letter handed over by Rukia and read it. The more he read, the more exciting the expression on Minato's face became. Onoki, the old man, actually played a beauty trick on this Hokage. Minato looked up at Kuretsuchi opposite him, and saw that Kuretsuchi's face was blushing, and his beautiful eyes did not dare to look into Minato's eyes. Seeing this, Minato slowly said, "The Cloud Village is going to go to war with your Rock Village." Seeing this, Kuretsuchi nodded quickly. She was extremely anxious. She was worried that something might happen to her grandfather. Minato saw that Kuretsuchi was a little anxious and smiled slightly and said, "You go back first. Let me think about this matter carefully." Kuretsuchi was a little disappointed, but there was nothing he could do. He could only bow to Minato Namikaze on the side and said, "Thank you, Lord Hokage. In this case, we will go back and wait for good news." After saying that, She looked at Minato deeply with her beautiful eyes, and then left with the two of them. Minato looked at the people who left, slowly sat on the Hokage chair, and said to Azuki Yugao in front of him, "Go and notify Kakashi, Yuhi Kurenai, and Mitarashi Anko first, and let them prepare for the battle." Azuki Yugao heard this. Yes, Lord Hokage then retreated. The reason why Namikaze Minato wanted to go to the battlefield of Iwagakure and Kumogakure was to see if he could trigger the system's rewards. After all, the system rewards he got in the previous few times were really tempting. At this time, Rukia next to him asked, "You are not really going to support?" Minato smiled and said, "Of course not, our support is fake, but we are really watching the fun." Unohana Retsu took the letter written by Unoki to Minato and said slowly, "I didn't expect that the third-generation Tsuchikage actually wanted to marry his granddaughter to you." Minato chuckled when he heard this. "I have two beauties around me, and all the others have to stand aside." The two women rolled their eyes when they heard this, and they didn't believe the nonsense Minato said at all. Minato came out and looked at the people in front of him, led by Kakashi. Minato said, "It's time to get back at the Kumogakure for bullying us for so many years. 20 years ago, during the reign of the Third Raikage, the elite Jonin of the Kumogakure were sent to Konoha village to kidnap our village's Nine-Tails Jinchuriki, who is also my wife Uzumaki Kushina, at night. I'm sure everyone still remembers it." When everyone heard this, a figure of a woman with long red hair appeared in their minds unconsciously. When Minato said this, he glanced at the Hyuga clan, and Hyuga Hiyashi's heart skipped a beat when he saw this. I don't know why Minato was looking at me. I didn't expect that the same scene and the same thing would happen again 10 years later. In order to seize the Byakugan of the Hyuga clan, the Cloud Ninja village kidnapped the eldest daughter of the Hyuga clan leader. I'm right about this, right? Hyuga clan leader. Hyuga Hiyashi heard the words and quickly agreed with the Hokage. It was the Cloud Ninja village that kidnapped my beloved daughter. I was anxious and killed them by mistake. And Sarutobi Hiruzen, who was in power at the time, was also a man who could only use some conspiracy tactics against his own people, but was weak and incompetent to foreign enemies. He always gave in and forced my brother Hizashi to death. At the same time, he had an amazing guess in his heart, that is, the Hokage was going to take action against the Cloud Ninja village. If so, could his brother's revenge be avenged? Thinking of this, Hyuga Hiyashi was excited. Minato looked at the angry crowd below and knew that it was almost time, so he raised his arm to signal everyone to be quiet. Looking at Kakashi and others, "We are going to set off now, but remember that on the battlefield, all of us should focus on our own safety." Everyone was a little confused. "We only have more than 700 ninjas to the battlefield this time. We are mainly going to help the third Tsuchikage Onoki to keep order, understand?" Then Minato led Kakashi, Might Guy, Mitarashi Anko, Yuhi Kurenai and other senior ninjas to the battlefield at the border of the Land of Earth. Unohana Retsu and Rukia smiled at each other when they saw this. At this time, Unohana Retsu said to Rukia, "Let's go, the two of us, and guard Konoha for Minato." At this time, the civilians of Konoha saw Minato leading everyone away, and their eyes kept flashing with admiration. This is their Hokage. Look how powerful he is. He will attack directly. If anyone disobeys, he will just do it. Unlike the old man Sandai who was in power, when he came to your doorstep and almost put a knife on your neck, you still greeted him with a smile like a grandson. On the other side, in a dark base, there were all kinds of experimental materials, such as the 3 Magatama Sharingan or Hashirama cells. A feminine man with long black hair and a pale face appeared. His eyes were different from those of ordinary people. He had golden vertical pupils and purple eyeshadow on his eyes. This guy was Orochimaru. This man is Orochimaru, one of the 3 ninjas. He was a little surprised when he saw the pale and sickly face of the boy in front of him. This boy is Uchiha Sasuke. Orochimaru didn't know why Uchiha Sasuke came to him. He remembered that Uchiha Sasuke seemed to be training with Kakashi. So Orochimaru asked, "Isn't Sasuke training with Kakashi? How come you have time to come to me?" Sasuke said expressionlessly, "Teacher Kakashi was called away by the 4th Hokage to perform a mission. Before he left, he asked me to come to you. He said you have a way to make me stronger." Orochimaru nodded slowly and said, "Come with me." On the other side, in a vast area, smoke and dust were rolling, and the ninjas of the two sides stood opposite each other. The people of the rock village on the side looked at the ninjas of the cloud village on the opposite side and couldn't help shouting, "What do you want to do in the cloud village?" The ninjas of the cloud village on the opposite side disagreed and slowly said, "What we want is also very simple, nothing more than ceding land and money." The leading rock ninja shouted, "Don't even think about it." At this time, a tall and burly man with short white hair and dark skin came out from the side of the cloud village. This man was Darui, the elite ninja of the cloud village. Seeing this, Darui said lazily, "If that's the case, don't blame me for being cruel," and then greeted the cloud village ninjas behind, and then the two sides began to fight. Earth style, earthquake core. Lightning style, lightning ball. Seeing this, Darui quickly formed seals with both hands and performed ninjutsu. Water escape, water array wall. Then he used lightning escape, market wave. Darui first used water escape to attack the enemy on the opposite side. The water array wall spread to the bodies of several ninjas from the rock village on the opposite side. Seeing this, Darui secretly said, "Good opportunity," then he made a seal with both hands, lightning escape, gratitude wave, and the ninjas covered with water screamed immediately. The ninjas from the rock village were furious and roared, "You guys, die, earth escape, rock fist." On the hands of the ninja, pieces of rock slowly appeared, covering his arms, and hit Darui on the opposite side. Seeing this, Darui dodged to the right and then punched the ninja from the rock village with his backhand. The ninja was punched away by Darui. On the other side, in a dark place, Uchiha Obito stood in the cave, holding the Uchiha fan, the token of the Uchiha clan leader, in his hand. Otsutsuki Agarwood, also known as Black Zetsu, said, "Obito's Kumogakure and Iwagakure have gone to war." Obito frowned slightly under the Uzumaki mask when he heard this, and said, "I didn't expect such a change." The reason why Uzumaki Nagato didn't dare to capture the tailed beast should be because of the resurrection of Namikaze Minato. Black Zetsu said, "Then let's catch the four-tailed beast, the eight-tailed beast and the two-tailed beast now." "No, if we want to catch it, we will catch the one-tailed beast. Everyone knows that this guy is the weakest among the tailed beasts. The strongest one is of course the nine-tailed beast, followed by the eight-tailed beast." Quote. On the other side, the third Tsuchikage Onoki finally arrived at the battlefield. Looking at the corpses all over the ground, his eyes were burning with hatred. Looking at the few people who were still struggling not far away, he couldn't help but get angry and released his famous skills to the dozens of Kumogakure ninjas in front of him. Dust release. Original world peeling technique. Quote. Then a cuboid about 5 or 6 meters wide and more than 20 meters long appeared in Onoki's hand and hit the ninjas of the cloud village opposite. Darui, who was standing by, showed a serious look on his face when he saw this, and shouted loudly, "Everyone, be careful and leave there quickly." As soon as Darui's voice fell, dozens of cloud village ninjas hit by Onoki's dust release instantly turned into ions in the ninja world. Darui was a little shocked when he saw this scene. He didn't expect that the third Tsuchikage was so powerful that he killed 20 or 30 elite chunins with one move. At this time, Darui had the idea of retreating in his heart, but he couldn't help but threaten the third Tsuchikage. "Third Tsuchikage, you are attacking us like this, are you trying to start a war?" Quote. Onoki laughed loudly after hearing this, and after a long time, the laughter gradually disappeared, replaced by a cold face, and said indifferently, "Start a fight? Do you really think I won't do anything? You are just a junior, how dare you be so presumptuous? Do you really think I dare not kill you?" When the third Tsuchikage said this, powerful chakra and strong killing intent burst out from his body. Darui felt the killing intent bursting out from Onoki and knew that the third Tsuchikage was really going to kill him. So he used the instant body technique to escape, but how could his speed be comparable? The third Tsuchikage Onoki was directly, Onoki's rock-wrapped fist hit his body, and he screamed and flew backwards, flying 4 or 5 meters in the air, and fell heavily to the ground, leaving spider web-like cracks on the ground. Onoki used ninjutsu again and attacked the seriously injured Darui. At the critical moment, an octopus tentacle blocked Onoki's attack. Onoki frowned slightly and dodged quickly. On the battlefield, a tall ninja from the Cloud Village appeared, wearing a white hat on his head and a pair of sunglasses on his eyes. Dodging the attack, Onoki raised his head, a gleam of light flashed in his turbid eyes. He looked up and saw the figure appearing on the battlefield with a solemn look on his face. He had a bad premonition in his heart, but on the surface he said, "The eight-tailed Jinchuriki of the Cloud Village, do you want to provoke a war between the Rock Village and the Cloud Village?" The eight-tailed Jinchuriki Killer Bee did not see this, and returned to Onoki's words, but asked, "Baga Yalu, Kong Yalu, it was you, the fool, who injured Darui. You are so hateful," then bowed slightly and attacked Onoki not far away. Seeing this, Onoki's pupils shrank, and he quickly performed ninjutsu to let his body fly into the sky. On Onoki's forehead, drops of cold sweat appeared. If he hadn't dodged quickly just now, he would not be able to bear being hit by this reckless man. Directly cast Earth Escape on Killer Bee, Earth Escape plus Rock Technique. For a moment, Killer Bee actually felt as if a mountain was pressing on him, and it was very difficult to move. Onoki beside him was not having a good time either, because using this ninjutsu required a lot of chakra. Onoki's heart sank slightly, because he felt that two very powerful chakras were approaching. If he hadn't been lucky, he would have controlled Killer Bee. Then he saw Onoki shouting, "Dust Escape Original Realm Peeling Technique," and a transparent cylinder appeared in his hand, facing Killer Bee below. "Kurabi, have my power." At this time, the eight tails in Killer Bee's body spoke. "Okay, little eight." Then he saw that a layer of blood-red chakra code appeared on Killer Bee's body, which was formed by the chakra of the tailed beast. In the original work, Naruto used the chakra of the nine tails to block Uchiha Sasuke's Amaterasu when fighting with Sasuke in the Valley of the End. The body, which had been slowed down by Onoki's super heavy rock technique, suddenly became much more relaxed, and turned into a bloody afterimage to avoid Onoki's attack. Onoki's dust escape created a 3-meter deep pit on the ground. Then Onoki looked around with vigilance, always on guard against Killer Bee's attack, because he felt that he had not hit Killer Bee with that blow just now. Suddenly, Onoki felt a strong wind coming from behind him, and he turned around to resist it, but unfortunately he found it a little too late, and he had no time to perform ninjutsu. He had to grit his teeth, cross his hands, and block in front of his chest. He was hit by Killer Bee's powerful blow, and the whole person flew backwards like a kite with a broken string. After sliding 2 or 3 meters on the ground, his heart sank. He didn't expect the opponent to be so powerful. He couldn't resist just this punch. Onoki slowly put his slightly trembling hands behind his back, pretending to be calm. He was praying for Kuretsuchi in his heart. "You have to fight for your grandfather. If the reinforcements from Konoha don't come, I will die here." Although Onoki was a little scared, he still said stubbornly, "The eight tails Jinchuriki of the Cloud Village is really powerful. I admit defeat." Kurabi, who was standing by, saw this and was fooled. He started to sing, "You are the strongest person in the Cloud Village except for the stupid brother." At this time, an angry voice came, "Are you stupid? The old guy is obviously dying, he is stalling for time." The fourth Raikage and two Yokido arrived together. Onoki saw this and thought to himself, "Not good, but on the surface it's still Dao. I wonder what the fourth Raikage is doing here." The fourth Raikage heard this and laughed. "The reason why I came here is not very simple. Of course, I came to ask the third Tsuchikage for money. You won't refuse to give it to me." Onoki's face sank when he heard this. At this time, several figures appeared behind Onoki. They were the leg shadows Kuroto and Wangtu who went to Konoha village for help. Onoki saw Kuroto coming and hurriedly asked, "What did the fourth Hokage of Konoha village, Minato Namikaze, say?" Kuroto saw this. He lowered his head slightly and said a little disappointedly, "The fourth Hokage Minato Namikaze said, he said he would think about it, and then he asked me to come back first." Onoki saw this. He sighed, stretched out his hand and patted Kuroto on the head, "It's okay." The fourth Raikage heard the conversation between Onoki and Kuroto. Some couldn't believe their ears, so they asked Kuretsuchi, "Little girl, you just said that you went to Konoha village to invite Konoha's fourth Hokage Namikaze." Kuretsuchi heard, "I'm a little unhappy. Yes, I invited Konoha village's fourth Hokage Namikaze Minato." The fourth Raikage said with a hint of sarcasm, "Even if you invited Konoha's fourth Hokage Namikaze Minato, what's wrong? He has been dead for so many years, and his strength may still be standing still. Or it may have declined. Because in the eyes of the fourth Raikage, the reason why Namikaze Minato was able to kill Konoha's third Hokage Sarutobi Hiruzen and Shimura Danzo was entirely because the two were old and their strength was no longer at its peak. He and Killer Bee could definitely defeat the two easily together. Looking at Haito in front of him, he said, "Besides, my two brothers have become much stronger in recent years than during the Third War. Even if he appears in front of us, we too are not afraid of him." At this time, a gentle voice came, "Really? So, now you are very brave." When Onoki and his companions heard the voice, they frowned slightly and looked at the figure on the battlefield. They saw that the man had golden hair fluttering in the wind and was wearing the fourth Hokage's divine robe. His eyes were bright and his handsome face was filled with a sunny and handsome smile. When they saw the man, they couldn't believe their eyes and asked suspiciously, "Are you really the fourth Hokage of Konoha, Minato Namikaze?" Minato had a playful expression on his face when he heard it, and looked at Onoki and asked, "What do you think?" Onoki was stunned at first, and then he laughed. Onoki was very happy, but the fourth Raikage was not happy. He stared at Minato in front of him, wanting to see if the man in front of him was really the fourth Hokage Minato Namikaze. After all, he and Killer Bee didn't even join forces to defeat each other, but instead became the stepping stone for the other party to become famous in the ninja world. Now, after more than 10 years, I met my old rival again. It would be a lie to say that I am not excited. Minato, who was standing by, saw this and smiled and greeted the fourth Raikage not far away. "Long time no see, I." The fourth Raikage, who was standing by, saw this. "Are you really the Golden Flash Minato Namikaze? Of course, the news of my resurrection has spread all over the ninja world now. You, the fourth Raikage, can't be unaware of it. In that case, you, the fourth Raikage of the Cloud Village, are really unqualified." The fourth Raikage was upset when he heard this. "You are still as irritating as you were during the Third World War." At this time, the ninjas of the Cloud Village and the Rock Village on the battlefield stopped fighting, because the news of Minato's resurrection was not widely publicized. But there was no way to hide it. The news of the Golden Flash's resurrection in Konoha Village had spread all over the ninja world for so long. They all looked at this curiously. The fourth Hokage of Konoha, whose name has spread throughout the ninja world during this period, was also curious. This is the border of the land of Earth. What is the fourth Hokage of Konoha, Minato Namikaze, doing here? The girl Kuritsuchi on the side looked at Minato's figure with a trace of admiration in her eyes. At the same time, she was also regretful in her heart. Why did she meet such a good man only now? At this time, Killer Bee suddenly said, "I remember that you are Minato Namikaze. I remember that didn't you die a long time ago?" Minato looked at this curiously. He had only seen this guy in anime in his previous life. He didn't expect that this guy really looked the same as in the anime. At this time, the 8 tails in Killer Bee's body suddenly said, "Killer Bee, be careful. I feel that this guy is a little unusual. I actually feel that this guy's chakra seems to be less than that of our tailed beasts." Kurabi also put away the contempt on his face after hearing this. At the beginning, Kurabi did not recognize that the blonde man who suddenly appeared on the battlefield was Minato Namikaze. Now that he recognized him, even after so many years, he was still a little scared. Back then, he and his elder brother did not get the upper hand over the other party. At this time, the voice of the system sounded in Minato's mind. Ding! A sign-in location was found. Do you want to sign in? Minato listened to the long-lost system prompt in his mind and said with some joy, "Sign in. Sign in quickly." He has been busy for so long, and his 2 beautiful wives at home have not taken the time to cultivate feelings. He ran to this place where no one is going to shit. Isn't it all for this system reward? Congratulations to the host for signing in successfully, triggering the critical hit reward, and obtaining the chakra version of the Kido scroll. You can use chakra to release ninjutsu without making hand seals. You only need to remember the chant of Kido. After becoming proficient, you can release Kido without chanting. Receive 10 points for signing in. The current sign-in points are 50 points. Please keep up the good work. After hearing this, Minato took a deep breath. This time the reward was beyond Minato's expectation. The price of this ninjutsu version of the Kido scroll sold in the system mall requires more than 100 points. I signed in so many times, but the total points I got were only 50 points. In this way, I can save the points I got and exchange them for other items in the mall. With this scroll, Naruto and Kakashi can improve their strength to a higher level. Although the power of the scroll may not be as strong as that of the spiritual pressure, it is enough in the ninja world. Minato came back to his senses, and his pair of blue eyes looked at the fourth-generation Raikage and the others. A gleam of light flashed in his eyes. They were a little unnatural because of Minato's gaze. The fourth-generation Raikage suddenly said to Minato, "Namikaze Minato, Killer Bee and I failed to defeat you back then, this time I will defeat you squarely." Quote. Minato heard this and shook his head slightly and said, "Unfortunately, your opponent this time is not me." The fourth Raikage was stunned and asked, "What do you mean by this?" Minato looked at the furious fourth Raikage, smiled slightly, and turned to look in the direction not far away. "I saw a figure rushing towards him from not far away." Minato bowed and said, "Hokage-sama." Minato smiled slightly and said, "You are coming quite fast." Then he looked at the fourth Raikage not far away and said, "Fourth Raikage, your opponent is here." The fourth Raikage's heart sank when he saw this. A gloomy look appeared on his face. He thought that Minato looked down on him. Who is he? He is the fourth Raikage of the Cloud Village. Now Minato is looking for an unknown kid to be his opponent. Isn't this humiliating him? Kakashi, who was standing aside, heard that his teacher said that the opponent was the fourth Raikage of the Cloud Village. For some reason, he suddenly felt excited in his heart. Even Kakashi himself couldn't explain this feeling clearly. But on the surface, there was still a trace of solemnity, suppressing the excitement in his heart, but Kaka knew that this feeling started from the transplant of Hashirama cells and Uchiha Madara blood by Orochimaru. But Kakashi liked this feeling very much. This feeling of full of power was really exciting. Just in the direction where Kakashi came, three figures appeared again. They were the elite Jonin of Konoha, Yuhi Kurenai, Mitarashi Anko and Hyuga Hiyashi. The three came to Minato, bowed to Minato together, and then retreated behind Minato. At this time, the irritable Anko saw Kakashi standing aside calmly, and couldn't help saying, "Kakashi, what are you doing, running so fast?" After looking at the hot-bodied Anko, Kakashi did not respond, but instead set his sights on the ninjas of the Cloud Ninja Village opposite. Anko saw that Kakashi ignored her, snorted, and stopped talking. Seeing Hongdu's appearance, Yuhi Kurenai shook her head and couldn't help complaining in her heart. Her best friend really couldn't see the situation clearly. Hinata Hiyashi on the side looked at the ninjas of the Cloud Village opposite, and hatred flashed in his eyes. His brother was killed by this group of guys. This time, with the help of the fourth Hokage, he also wanted to kill more Cloud ninjas to avenge his brother. Minato on the side noticed that Hiyashi was abnormal and was a little surprised. Then he thought of Sarutobi Hiruzen and Shimura Danzo. These two guys were killed by him. Hiyashi's hatred naturally shifted to the Cloud Village that caused this tragedy. Minato saw that almost all his people had arrived, so he waved his hand and said, "Okay, everyone is here, we can start the fight." The fourth Raikage, who was not far away, saw this scene and could no longer hold back. "Minato Namikaze, you guy, stop right there." As soon as he finished speaking, he rushed towards Minato Namikaze who was not far away. Kakashi, who was standing by, saw this, his eyes turned cold, and then he used the chakra in his body to rush towards the fourth Raikage who was rushing towards him. The fourth Raikage snorted coldly when he saw this. He didn't believe that Minato Namikaze's disciples could block his attack. It was as if he saw the scene of himself killing Kakashi with one punch, and then he thought of Minato Namikaze's painful look, and he couldn't stop feeling happy in his heart, and his face unconsciously showed a ferocious expression. An incredible scene appeared, and Kakashi also punched out, and the fists of both sides collided with each other, making a bang, and after the blow, both of them retreated 2 steps. Everyone took a deep breath when they saw this scene. What did we just see? Someone could actually fight against the fourth Raikage with physical strength. Onoki was shocked when he saw this scene. Onoki knew that this white-haired ninja was a disciple of Minato Namikaze. He could actually fight against the fourth Raikage with physical strength. The fourth Raikage looked gloomy and looked at the white-haired kid in front of him. He didn't expect that Minato Namikaze's disciple could compete with him in physical strength without losing. Minato Namikaze was a little surprised when he saw this. He didn't expect that Kakashi, who was in normal state, could fight against the old-fashioned cage-level strongman with physical strength without losing. In the previous attack, Kakashi felt the opponent's speed and strength and was also shocked. If he hadn't transplanted Hashirama cells and injected Uchiha Madara's blood, he might not be able to block the attack of the fourth Raikage just now. Seeing this, the fourth Raikage directly activated the lightning chakra mode, which was much faster. He was completely wrapped in blue lightning, and arcs flashed on his body from time to time. Eye was flashing with lightning all over his body, and his hands were shining with dazzling lightning. He raised his hand knife and wanted to chop Kakashi on the opposite side. Thunder Duck Neck. Kaka seeing this, Kakashi's dark eyes turned into 3 scarlet magatama, and his eyes were as sharp as torches. He pulled out the white fang blade on his back, which was filled with cold light. Then Kakashi infused the lightning attribute chakra into the short sword to increase the destructive power and sharpness of the white fang blade. As Kakashi injected lightning attribute chakra into the blade, the originally plain blade was instantly surrounded by lightning and filled with powerful lightning power. Chapter 91. The fourth Raikage on the side also had a serious expression when he saw this. He knew how powerful the lightning release was, and he was an expert in playing with lightning. And what did he see? The Scarlet 3 Magatama Sharingan in the other party's eyes. Didn't this thing disappear long ago after the Uchiha clan was exterminated 6 years ago? How could it still appear in the ninja world? The only explanation is that the Uchiha clan, apart from Uchiha Itachi and his brother, still had survivors. The fourth Raikage didn't think that the person in front of him was Kakashi, on the one hand because the Cloud Ninja Village had information about Kakashi, and on the other hand he never thought that Kakashi would gain such a powerful force in such a short time. That's the 3 Magatama Sharingan. The people watching the battle on the side couldn't help but exclaimed when they saw the 3 Magatama Sharingan in Kakashi's eyes. Minato, who was watching Kakashi and the fourth Raikage fighting, saw that Kakashi actually integrated his own lightning attribute chakra into the white fang blade, and a look of surprise appeared on his face. Then he asked and shook his head and said, "Did this kid steal my moves? But this can increase the destructive power of the weapon, and maybe it can break the defense of the Raikage's lightning armor." Hongdu looked at the battlefield, and the indifferent Kakashi said to Yuhi Kurenai, who was watching the battle on the side, "Did you see that Kakashi's eyes actually have the Uchiha clan's Sharingan? And this guy's strength has become so powerful." On the battlefield, the momentum of the two people had almost condensed, and Kakashi was the first to disappear in front of everyone. When he appeared again, he was already in front of the fourth Raikage, and the white fang blade in his hand suddenly slashed towards the fourth Raikage's waist. Seeing this, the fourth Raikage immediately punched Kakashi, who was rushing towards him. Kakashi knew that his attack had failed. He quickly used the instant body technique to dodge. Seeing this, the fourth Raikage knew that the opportunity had come and quickly followed. Lightning flashed in his hand, making bursts of sizzling sounds, and punched Kakashi in the face. Kakashi had no choice but to throw a punch. The fists of both sides collided with each other again. The powerful impact made the surrounding air emit a trembling sound of breaking through the air. This time, Kakashi was not unscathed like the last time. Instead, he was knocked back by the punch of the fourth Raikage. He did a backflip in the air and landed steadily on the ground. His brows frowned slightly, and then he formed seals with both hands to release ninjutsu. Fire style. Great fireball technique. I saw a fireball of more than 20 meters spewing out of Kakashi's mouth and hitting the fourth Raikage not far away. HMPH. The fourth Raikage directly activated the lightning chakra in his body. With the blessing of the lightning chakra mode, the fourth Raikage's speed and strength were greatly improved. He rushed directly into the ninjutsu released by Kakashi, and Kakashi frowned slightly when he saw this. This guy is still a human being. He just rushed over like this. Kakashi had no choice but to quickly perform the instant body technique to dodge, and then held the white fang blade and killed the fourth Raikage who had just come out of the sea of fire. The fourth Raikage was around the sea of fire and couldn't see Kakashi's position at all. Kakashi jumped to a high place, a pair of Scarlet 3 Magatama slowly turned in his eyes, and his hands formed seals. Fire style. Great Dragon Fire Technique. A huge flame dragon formed by flames attacked the fourth Raikage below. Seeing this, the fourth Raikage's eyes suddenly widened, and then he quickly ran out of the attack range, but even so, the fourth Raikage still did not run out of Kakashi's attack range. Swallowed by the aftermath of the flames, the people on the battlefield saw Kaka's fire escape and couldn't help but take a breath of cold air. If they were under such an attack, they would definitely not be able to block it. Kakashi's figure also fell, and a pair of scarlet eyes not far away looked at the sea of fire not far away calmly. I saw a figure with flames on his body rushing towards Kakashi, and Kakashi showed a touch of excitement on his face. The thunder attribute chakra was once again injected into the white fang blade in his hand. The originally dim white fang blade was once again filled with blue lightning, making crackling sounds. When the people on the side saw it, they were all surprised. At this time, Kakashi's body surface also had bursts of lightning, and he rushed towards the opposite Raikage. As the two fought faster and faster, Kakashi and the fourth Raikage's figures turned into a red light and a blue light on the battlefield. In Minato and Onoki's vision, the blue light was the fourth Raikage, and the red light was undoubtedly Kakashi. Did you see that, Red? It's Kakashi, he can actually reach this level with the fourth Raikage of the Cloud Village. Seeing that her best friend was going crazy again, Yuhi Kurenai ignored what Hongdu said, and focused on watching the two people fighting on the battlefield. There was a hint of doubt in her heart, wondering when Kakashi became so powerful. It was obvious that Kakashi was still a ninja of the same level as herself some time ago, but now he can fight with the fourth Raikage of the Cloud Village to this point without losing. Unconsciously, her beautiful eyes looked at Minato, who was standing next to her, and the strange feeling rose in her heart again. At the same time, she was thinking in her heart that all this started after the fourth Hokage appeared. Is it also the other party who made Kakashi so powerful? On the battlefield, the battle between the fourth Raikage and Kakashi continued. The fourth Raikage became more and more impatient as he fought with Kakashi for a longer time. The opponent's speed could keep up with his own, and the opponent seemed to be able to predict his ninjutsu. Every time he wanted to use ninjutsu, the opponent would jump out to interrupt him, and the blade in that guy's hand, which flashed with lightning, was sharper and sharper. He could break his lightning armor and leave wounds on himself. Every time he attacked, the opponent could cleverly resist it. Minato smiled when he saw this scene, and at the same time thought that Kakashi's strength was growing a little too fast. Minato could see that Kakashi had not used all his strength in the battle with the Raikage, because so far, in addition to using two fire ninjutsu, the battle with the fourth Raikage almost used physical skills and the ancestral Hatake swordsmanship. The plug-in that I and Orochimaru gave Kaka, the Mangekyo Sharingan, has not been opened yet. If the Mangekyo Sharingan is opened, I really don't know what will happen. Kakashi looked at the fourth Raikage in front of him, with a calm look in his eyes and a pair of scarlet Sharingans. The three Magatama in his eyes slowly turned again, and a trace of blood appeared on the white fang blade in his hand, which was stained with the blood of the fourth Raikage. This was a test given to me by my teacher, and for this reason I also specially practiced the 8 gates of ninjutsu again. I had practiced the 8 gates of ninjutsu with Might Guy, but it was my body at that time. Because the Sharingan sent by Obito could not be closed, the chakra in my body had been disappearing. Now my body has not only experienced the strengthening of Hashirama's cells. It is said that the physique of the first generation of Hokage is the legendary immortal body, and the chakra recovery and self-healing ability are very strong. In addition, Uchiha Madara's blood was injected into his body, so that the 3 Magatama Sharingan in his eyes can be closed freely. Feeling the wound on his shoulder from the fight with the Raikage just now, he was healing, and he couldn't help but feel happy. Although the teacher said that it was not as good as the real immortal body, it could slowly recover from some minor injuries. The fourth Raikage, who was not far away, had an ugly expression. He had hardly suffered any damage from the opponent so far, but he was hit by the opponent several times. Although they were all minor injuries, it was nothing to him. But the fourth Raikage still felt very aggrieved. Before the war, he vowed, even if it is the current fourth Hokage Minato Namikaze, I am not weak. I didn't expect that the slap in the face came so quickly. The opponent sent a white-haired ninja, and he could fight me on equal terms. So the Raikage felt tired. He started a war for no reason and bullied the Rock Village. He didn't provoke you, the Konoha village, so why did you come to join in the fun? So the Raikage felt very aggrieved. Bakaga, Kanga, you are such a bully to my stupid brother. I will beat you into a fool. Before he finished speaking, he rushed towards Kakashi. Seeing this, Kakashi's eyes shrank slightly, and his expression became a little solemn. The person rushing over was the eight-tailed Jinchuriki of the Cloud Village, and he didn't know if he could stop him. If it doesn't work, he can only open the Mangekyo Sharingan, otherwise he can't beat them at all. Eight-tailed Jinchuriki Killer Bee, where are you going? Your opponent is me, Onoki said in front of Killer Bee. You old man, don't stop me from saving my stupid brother. Kakashi saw that the eight-tailed Jinchuriki Killer Bee was stopped by the third Tsuchikage Onoki, and couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief. The three Magatama Sharingan that was spinning wildly in his eyes also slowly stopped, and he did not open the Mangekyo Sharingan. After all, Minato teacher also said that he should try to use it less. If he used it too much, his eyes would suffer from insomnia, and he did not want to become blind. Then he looked at the fourth Raikage again, and then the white fang blade in his hand made a crackling sound again. Seeing this, the fourth Raikage showed a gloomy look on his face. This white-haired ninja was too hateful. He interrupted his ninjutsu every time. Then a figure attacked Kaka at a very fast speed. The person who came was about 20 years old, with a head of beige long hair tied into a braid that reached his waist. His face was pretty and charming, and he was wearing a combat uniform unique to the Cloud Ninja Village. His hands became like a pair of cat claws, and the nails gradually grew longer. Then he attacked Kakashi, who was not far away. He appeared in a flash, and a claw from Kakashi's left side grabbed Kakashi's waist. Seeing this, Kakashi blocked it with his left hand with a kunai. A claw came. He thought to himself, what a close call. If I had been hit by this claw, my kidney would have been gone. Although I have transplanted Hashirama's cells and have a good self-healing ability, no one can guarantee whether my kidney can recover. If not, then my future, happy, life would be over. At this moment, Kakashi glimpsed, and his pupils suddenly shrank. He saw the fourth Raikage flashing with dazzling lightning all over his body, rushing towards him. Lightning release. Lightning abuse level Chio Mai. The fourth Raikage was seen with lightning rioting on his body, and on one right hand, strong lightning gathered on his right hand and hit Kakashi. Minato Namikaze, who was standing by, also condensed his eyes slightly after seeing this, because he remembered that when he watched Naruto in his previous life, Uchiha Sasuke obtained the Mangekyo Sharingan and felt that he was invincible. Under the leadership of the great filial disciple Uchiha Obito, he made a big fuss at the 5-cage talks, thinking that he had opened the legendary Mangekyo Sharingan and was invincible. As a result, the fourth Raikage, who had a bad temper, did not indulge the second pillar, and directly opened the lightning release chakra mode, and a lightning abuse level Chiomai broke the second pillar's skeleton Susanoo. Even when the Amaterasu was used by the fourth pillar, the Raikage didn't care and taught the fourth pillar a lesson, but the price was a bit high, he lost an arm. In the end, the fourth pillar was seriously injured, and with the help of Uchiha Obito, he successfully escaped. I didn't expect that this move would be used on Kakashi, but Kakashi should be able to block it. Kakashi quickly put down the white fang blade in his hand, crossed his hands in front of his chest, and prepared to withstand the blow. In a flash, there was a bang, and the two collided. A figure slid out along the ground, and his legs left two deep scratches on the ground. He directly hit the rock not far away, making a sound of flesh and rock. The battlefield was also filled with smoke and miasma because of the attack of the fourth Raikage. Seeing this, Kurenai Yuhi and Mitarashi Anko flashed a trace of worry in their eyes, and looked at Minato beside them and asked. Hokage-sama, Kakashi won't be in trouble, right? Should we go to support him? After all, there are two cage-level masters on the opposite side. Minato smiled when he heard this, and slowly said, don't worry, Kakashi hasn't used all his strength yet. Kurenai Yuhi and Anko and others beside him were shocked when they heard this. I didn't expect Kakashi to fight two cage-level masters alone and he hasn't used all his strength yet. Hinata Hiyashi saw this scene, his white eyes were bulging, and his face was solemn. He looked at the place where Kakashi was hit and flew away. He saw blood oozing from the corner of Kakashi's mouth, and he slowly walked out of it. Hokage-sama, I saw with my white eyes, Kaka seems to be injured. Do we really not need to help him? Hinata Hiyashi said with a worried face. Minato said calmly, just wait and see. Kaka will not lose, he is the 50-50 of Konoha. Hearing Minato say this, Hyuga Hiyashi was a little confused, not understanding what Minato meant by 50-50, but he did not ask. After all, he was just an elite jonin, and he could not help much in the battle of the shadow-level strongman. The fourth-generation Raikage and the two Yukitos beside him also looked at the smoke with vigilance. After all, the strength of the white-haired ninja in front of them was a bit outrageous. The sound of footsteps slowly reached the ears of the two people, making them more nervous and uneasy. You know, both of them are shadow-level strongmen of the Cloud Ninja Village, and now they are facing one person, but there is a sense of crisis in their hearts. The smoke slowly disappeared, and Kakashi's figure also appeared. When the two saw Kakashi's appearance at this time, their hearts sank slightly, and their faces showed solemn expressions. Kakashi's clothes were a little torn, and there was a trace of blood at the corner of his mouth. His condition did not decline at all. Kakashi looked at the two and slowly said, "Is this the extent of you two?" "What did you say? Did I hear it right?" The fourth Raikage was stunned for a moment, and then asked Kakashi not far away blankly. Kakashi clenched his hands, stood in a horse stance, and shouted, "8 gates of ninja technique, open the gate, open the rest gate, open the life gate." As Kaka performed the 8 gates of ninja technique, a strong chakra spread out in all directions on the battlefield, forming a circle of air waves. The surrounding ninjas saw this scene and forgot their own battles and were shocked by the scene in front of them. It was really that Kaka's condition at the moment was too terrifying, and the strong aura continued to fill the battlefield. Even Kakashi's face changed from the original bronze skin to red, and then there was a bang in his left hand, and a dazzling ball of lightning condensed in Kakashi's hand. Then Kakashi's Scarlet 3 Magatama Sharingan stared at the fourth Raikage and the second Yukito in front of him, and then the figure disappeared, and everyone saw a flash of white lightning. When I saw Kakashi again, I saw Kakashi's figure appear in front of the two-tailed Jinchuriki, with his hands flashing with lightning, piercing through the bodies of the two wooden men. Minato was slightly surprised when he saw this scene. He didn't expect Kakashi to have learned the 8 gates. I remember that when I watched anime in my previous life, I heard Kakashi say that he and Might Guy had practiced the 8 gates. However, in the previous life of Naruto, Kakashi had never used the 8 gates ninjutsu, and he just heard Kakashi mention it casually. But now that he saw Kakashi using the 8 gates ninjutsu with his own eyes, Minato said that he was still very surprised. The moment Kakashi pierced through the bodies of the two wooden men also showed a painful look on their faces, and a trace of blood slowly flowed from the corners of their mouths, and the originally rosy face gradually became pale. Seeing this scene, Kakashi's pair of scarlet Sharingans were as calm as water, as if he was used to life and death, because Kakashi knew very well that if he had not been strong enough and reacted quickly enough to block the fatal attack of the fourth Raikage, I am afraid that I would have been seriously injured. So being kind to the enemy is cruel to myself. Even if the other party is a woman, or a beautiful woman, Kakashi will not show mercy. Slowly pulling out his bloody palm, Kakashi teleported to his own white fang blade, and slowly grasped it with his right hand. For a moment, the originally dim white fang blade once again ignited the red lightning. The fourth Raikage on the side saw this scene, and his dark old face trembled fiercely. He cursed in his heart. This fool actually picked up that weapon again, and then looked at the two Yukitos who fell to the ground, and his life or death was unknown. Quote, the battle between the two started again, but this time Kakashi did not stop the fourth Raikage from using ninjutsu like last time. Thunder Plow Hot Knife. Quote, the thunder attributed chakra attached to the left arm of the fourth Raikage, and the left arm became like a sharp long knife, slashing towards Kakashi's neck. Kakashi saw this scene, and the 3 Magatama Sharingan in his eyes slowly turned, and he directly used the instant body technique to dodge, and at the same time did not use ninjutsu to counterattack. Water Escape. Water Dragon Bullet Technique. Quote, Kakashi quickly formed a seal, and the cool chakra gathered in his throat. He spewed out a 7 or 8 meter long green water dragon from his mouth, and rushed the fourth Raikage away. In the blink of an eye, the fourth Raikage's figure was engulfed, and countless water flows filled the distance of hundreds of meters. Suddenly, Kakashi's body felt cold, and he turned his head suddenly to see that the two wooden figures had disappeared, replaced by a two-tailed cat demon as big as a mountain. Her mouth was frantically condensing, and the huge chakra was compressed. This scene shocked everyone on the battlefield, and they couldn't help but shouting. Everyone get out of the way. This kind of battle is no longer something we can intervene in. Seeing this, everyone on the battlefield also fled. Quote, just when Kakashi wanted to dodge, a figure suddenly appeared behind Kakashi and hugged him tightly. Kakashi felt that he was hugged from behind, and his face became a little ugly. Looking at the tailed beast ball flying towards him, he released the 8 Gates ninjutsu on his body, and at the same time, the 3 Magatama in his eyes spun wildly, and the Magatama in his eyes slowly connected together, forming a strange pattern. That's the Mangekyo Sharingan. Everyone present was shocked when they saw the Mangekyo in Kakashi's eyes. You know, in the Uchiha clan, everyone who opened the Mangekyo Sharingan, his strength is at least at the level of Kage. Although Kakashi had the title of Konoha's technician copy ninja, he was obviously not in the eyes of the 4th Raikage. Seeing this, Onoki on the side was a little envious. This kid was obviously not a member of the Uchiha clan, and he didn't know how that guy Minato Namikaze helped him get it. Baga Yalu, you old fool, don't block the way, I'm going to support the full brother, Killer Bee roared at Onoki angrily. Hearing this, Onoki on the side was indeed unmoved. A smile appeared on his old face, and he slowly said, although I can't beat you, I can still hold you for a while. Quote, asshole. Quote, when Minato Namikaze saw this scene, he smiled and thought to himself, Kakashi, let me see the true power of these eyes. These 2 eyes of yours contain the strongest illusion, Koto Amatsukami, and the strongest space-time ninjutsu, Kamui. As expected by Minato, Kakashi used Kamui to pull the 4th Raikage into the Kamui space. When the 4th Raikage reacted, he felt dizzy. When he reacted again, he saw that the white-haired ninja had stabbed his waist with a knife. Suddenly, the 4th Raikage's eyes were bloodshot, and the lightning power on his body was violent, and then he rushed towards Kakashi. Puff! The sound of the long knife entering the flesh came, and Kakashi's white fang blade penetrated the 4th Raikage's belly, and then the 2 figures appeared on the battlefield, and the 4th Raikage fell heavily to the ground. Kakashi still stood there, and the 2 Yukitos beside him saw this, let out a huge roar, and then rushed towards Kakashi, only to see the kaleidoscopes in Kakashi's eyes spinning wildly, and a drop of blood flowed from the corner of his eye. As the Mangekyo Sharingan in Kakashi's eyes spun wildly, the majestic pupil power was released immediately. In an instant, 2 scarlet Mangekyo Sharingan appeared in the huge pupil of the 2 tails. However, what made everyone feel strange was that the Mangekyo Sharingan in the 2 tails' eyes showed different patterns. The left eye was in the shape of a sickle, and the overall appearance was like 3 sickles linked together. The Mangekyo Sharingan in the right eye was much simpler, and the whole thing was in the shape of a 4-cornered shuriken. The entire body of the 2 tails also stopped instantly, and the giant claws that were slapping Kakashi slowly fell to the ground. Seeing this, Killer Bee on the side was extremely angry. I'm going to kill you. Then he broke through the interception of the 3rd Tsuchikage Onoki and attacked Kakashi on the side. Seeing this, Kaka frowned slightly and jumped directly on the head of the 2 tails, and Killer Bee's attack was directly missed. At this time, only a voice came, I'll help you, and Onoki slowly landed on the top of the 2-tailed beast, standing side by side with Kakashi. Both of them were alert, looking at the 8-tailed Jinchuriki Killer Bee in front of them. You have to know that the tailed beast in this guy's body is the 8-tailed beast. That guy is second only to the 9-tailed beast in strength. If it is Killer Bee who has completely transformed into a tailed beast, it is probably not enough to compete with it with the current state of the 2. Minato looked at the battlefield calmly, ready to attack at any time. As long as Kakashi is not as good as Killer Bee, he will take action at any time to save the 2, so that Onoki will owe him another favor. But what Minato didn't know was that Onoki's idea at this time was to marry his granddaughter to Minato Namikaze. I saw Kakashi controlling the 2-tailed beast to face Killer Bee, and slapped it with a claw. Seeing this, Killer Bee jumped directly and avoided the claw of the 2-tailed beast. The attack of the 2-tailed beast fell to the ground and raised a puff of dust. When the 2 saw this scene, their hearts sank, and they scanned the surrounding environment. Suddenly, bang! There was a loud sound of weapons colliding, mixed with sparks. It turned out that Killer Bee was angry. He felt that if it weren't for the old man Onoki calling for help, his elder brother would not have been injured so badly by the white-haired ninja in front of him. It must be said that Killer Bee's attack was faster than the speed of the fourth Raikage. Although Kakashi's eyes could keep up, his body movements could not keep up. Maybe in his prime, Kakashi could block Killer Bee's attack. Not long after, Kakashi had multiple wounds on his body. Kakashi saw the wounds on his body, and a gloomy look appeared on his face. A pair of scarlet Mangekyo Sharingan looked at Killer Bee in front of him, with a hint of coldness in his eyes. I feel that the eyesight of this guy in front of you is not much worse than that of the legendary ninja Uchiha Madara. Just now, he took a look at the two tails and controlled it, so you must be careful. However, the eight tails didn't know that the next time Uchiha Madara appeared, he would be countless times more terrifying than the current Kakashi. Killer Bee heard that his old partner, the eight tails Gyuki, had said this, and his expression when he looked at Kakashi became solemn. Onoki, who was standing by, saw that Kakashi had so many wounds on his body the moment he fought with Killer Bee, and a gloomy look appeared on his face. Then, he released his chakra crazily and shouted loudly. Earth Escape. Super light and heavy rock technique. Then Kakashi felt that his body seemed to be much lighter, and he also understood that this was the buff that Onoki added to him. Kaka's eyes flashed with cold light, and he fought with Killer Bee again, and the weapons made a sound of fine iron clashing. The moment the weapons touched in the air, sparks flew. Seeing this, the old sixth Onoki found the right opportunity and released an ninjutsu against Killer Bee who was fighting with Kakashi. Earth Escape. Super heavy rock technique. As Onoki performed a ninjutsu on Killer Bee's figure suddenly paused. Good opportunity. Kakashi noticed that Killer Bee was different, and a dazzling lightning burst out from his hand. The blue lightning condensed in his hand and hit the slow-moving Killer Bee's chest. When Killer Bee reacted, he had no time to dodge and had to gather the chakra of the eight-tail to block in front of him. With a bang, Killer Bee's strong body was knocked out and fell heavily to the ground, raising a puff of smoke. Suddenly, Kakashi's body swayed and he almost fell to the ground. Seeing this, Onoki hurried forward to support Kakashi and asked, "What's wrong with you? Are you okay?" Kakashi smiled. With a solemn expression, he slowly said, "It's okay, I just overused my pupil power. After all, there is another guy under our feet, and I am controlling him." At this time, Onoki finally realized, yes, the two tails are under their feet. At this moment, a deafening roar came from not far away. It was Killer Bee who completely entered the state of complete tailed beast transformation. Looking at Killer Bee who had completely transformed into a tailed beast not far away, Kakashi and Onoki felt a chill in their hearts. If the two of them were in their prime, they would not have to be afraid of Killer Bee if they joined hands. But now, the two of them are in extremely bad condition, especially Kakashi. The battle with the fourth Raikage had already consumed a lot of chakra, and now there is no extra power to fight. And Kakashi has been controlling the two-tailed beast, which has also been consuming Kakashi's chakra. Seeing the tentacles of the eight-tailed beast coming, Kakashi and Onoki had to dodge quickly. But these tentacles seemed to have eyes and chased after the two of them. The two had no choice but to fall to the ground, and the octopus-like tentacles smashed hard on the ground. Raising a cloud of dust, Kakashi's Mangekyo Sharingan in his eyes spun wildly, constantly dodging the octopus tentacles, and the white fang blade on his back was also taken out again by Kakashi. However, the white fang blade this time was not as dazzling as before. Kakashi did not inject lightning chakra into his white fang blade because of chakra consumption. Minato frowned slightly when he saw this, and couldn't help but sigh in his heart. In the previous life of Naruto, the second pillar opened the Mangekyo Sharingan, and Amaterasu knocked down the fully tailed beast Killer Bee. Now it seems that it is not that simple. The fully tailed beast Killer Bee's strength may have reached the quasi-super shadow level. Is it really necessary to use that move? But the teacher said that move cannot be used unless it is a critical moment. That's right, Kakashi is going to use the Uchiha clan's divine skill Susanoo. Just when Kakashi was about to use Susanoo, Minato's voice rang out. Hado number 63, Thunder Roar Cannon. As Minato's voice rang out, a golden red spiritual pressure emanated from Minato's body. Seeing this, Kakashi's pupils suddenly shrank, and then Kakashi's figure was sucked into a vortex. Minato saw Kakashi display his divine power and disappear, smiled slightly, and then he didn't care anymore. Compared with the time when Minato killed Shimura Danzo and Sarutobi Hiruzen, he became much stronger. The display of Hado caused bursts of golden lightning to appear within a radius of hundreds of meters. So strong. What kind of power is this? It actually made me feel powerless. I felt like a tiny ant under this power. Onoki looked at the scene in front of him, and his heart was full of shock. The ninjas of Konoha were all shocked and speechless when they saw this scene. Although they all knew that their Hokage was very strong, they didn't expect him to be so strong. Just with this momentum and this ninjutsu, I'm afraid it has surpassed the S level. Amid the exclamations of the crowd, the power filled with violent lightning was released, and the golden lightning beam covered a distance of nearly 100 meters, hitting Killer Bee, who had completely transformed into a tailed beast. Killer Bee saw such a terrifying attack, hitting himself, and subconsciously wanted to dodge, but was surprised to find that his body could not move. In the sealed space, what should we do now, Niyugi? Our bodies can't move. At this time, Killer Bee was no longer as calm as when he rapped before. Hearing this, the huge bull head of the eight-tailed Gyu ghost shook slightly, indicating that he had no other options, but then he continued, now we have no choice but to take this blow. Hundreds of meters of lightning light column fiercely covered the body of the eight-tailed Gyu ghost, and the violent thunder tore everything around it. When the lightning light dissipated, everyone was shocked to see everything in front of them. All that could be seen was a gully about hundreds of meters wide, with no end in sight. Looking further, there was also the figure of Kurabi. Everyone looked for Kurabi everywhere, but they couldn't find him after searching for a long time. Seeing this scene, Onoki on the side was shocked, and he became more determined to marry his granddaughter to Minato Namikaze. A guy like Minato Namikaze, who was so powerful, could only befriend him, and definitely not be hostile to him. Everyone looked at Minato's original position again, and saw that the place where Minato stood had long disappeared. Everyone, look, there is a figure in the sky. With this shout, all the ninjas on the battlefield, whether from Konoha village, Iwagakure, or Kumogakure, raised their heads and looked up at the sky, and saw the figure of Namikaze Minato appearing in the sky. He was holding the arm of a person in his hand. After a closer look, he realized that the person was Killer Bee, the eight-tails Jinchuriki of Kumogakure. Seeing this, everyone in Kumogakure showed a hint of joy on their faces, because just now under Minato's attack, they all thought that Killer Bee was the master has turned into ashes. Now seeing that Master Kurabi has not turned into ashes, the people of the Cloud Ninja village are also happy from the bottom of their hearts. If you say that they lost this war, why are they still so happy? Isn't this nonsense? With such a powerful guy taking action, how can they not lose? This is Lord Killer Bee, the eight-tails Jinchuriki of the Cloud Village. Such a powerful ninja was killed instantly by the other party. How can you let them fight with such a person? Isn't it because they think their lives are too long? Minato looked at the people on the battlefield, all looking at Namikaze Minato with a fearful look, and smiled slightly without caring. This guy is not dead yet, why don't you come here to take this guy away, Minato said, and did not forget to point at Killer Bee lying on the ground. When the people of the Cloud Village saw that Minato asked them to carry Killer Bee away, they were stunned, but facing Minato's one-shot kill, Killer Bee, who was completely transformed into a tailed beast, they had to be afraid. Seeing this, Minato showed a helpless smile on his face. At this time, a tall figure walked in front of Minato. Minato saw the figure walking in front of him. Somewhat surprised that no one in the Cloud Village dared to come to Minato, and in the end they were not as good as a woman. The woman who came was none other than the two Yukitos. She walked in front of Minato with a beautiful face. When she looked at the handsome Minato in front of her, her pretty face turned red unconsciously, her chest was also slightly heaving, and a strange feeling arose in her heart, even she herself couldn't explain it clearly. Minato looked at the tall and beautiful woman in front of him, smiled slightly and then said, "Your Raikage and your village's eight-tails Jinchuriki Killer Bee are not dead. Your Kumogakure will give Konoha village 10 billion ryo. What do you think I say? You have no objection, right?" "No, no objection." The two Yukitos felt very aggrieved when they heard this. Even Killer Bee was not Minato's opponent, let alone her. Ding, a sign-in target is found, do you sign in? Minato heard the system voice again, and said happily, "Sign in." The system broadcast sounded again. Congratulations to the host for signing in successfully and obtaining the two-tailed chakra. Minato was a little surprised. He didn't expect that the reward given by the system this time was the tailed beast chakra. In this way, can he also activate the tailed beast mode in the future? Or in other words, this tailed beast chakra is his own chakra, just like the silver and golden horns in the previous life. Onoki also came over and said to Minato, "It's been so many years since I last saw the golden flash. I didn't expect that after so many years, I still look as elegant as ever when I see you again." Minato heard Onoki's flattery of himself, and smiled slightly. This is thanks to the third Hokage and the Konoha elders. Those old guys, if it weren't for those old guys, how could I have died on the night of the nine-tailed more than 10 years ago? If I didn't die, how could Orochimaru resurrect me? Onoki sighed and said, "That's true. This war has been won. Are you going to let the Cloud Village leave like this? You know, they are going to invade your land of Earth," Minato asked in confusion. Onoki shook his head slightly when he heard this. "They are now seriously injured. I'm afraid they won't be able to recover in a few years. Besides, who can say what will happen in the future?" "That's true. Who can say what will happen in the future?" Minato also sighed. "Old man, I have an unwelcome request, and I hope the fourth Hokage can agree," Onoki said with a smile as he looked at Minato. When Minato heard Onoki say this, he was a little curious and said, "Old man, you speak first." Onoki's eyes lit up when he saw this, and then he said, "It's nothing serious. It's just that my poor little granddaughter admires you, the famous fourth Hokage. So I, an old man, also want to find a good husband for my granddaughter." Minato also understood what was going on. It turned out that this old man was thinking of forming an alliance with Konoha under the banner of marrying his granddaughter. Minato also pretended to be embarrassed. "I am a married man, and I am not short of women around me. Are you sure you want your granddaughter to marry me?" Minato said this to make Onoki give up this idea, but unexpectedly, Onoki said nonchalantly, "What's the big deal? Even an ordinary daimyo has several wives. What's more, a powerful person like you, what does it matter if you have a few women around you?" Minato still didn't give up and said, "Then does your granddaughter agree?" Onoki pouted and said, "This is what she wants, why shouldn't she agree?" When Onoki said this, Minato felt a sour taste in the air. Minato looked at Onoki in astonishment. It was not difficult to hear the sense of déjà vu from his words that his cabbage was being eaten by a pig. "If you don't have any objections, take this girl back." Minato listened to Onoki's speech and said with embarrassment, "I have only met your granddaughter twice, and you asked me to take her away. Ding, a sign-in target is found, do you want to sign in?" Minato heard the system prompt and quickly said, "Sign in." Ding. Congratulations to the host for signing in and successfully obtaining the dust release, original realm stripping technique. Minato was a little surprised when he heard this. He didn't expect that the dust release would burst out on Onoki, but it was a pity that there was no blood stain and he was eliminated. Onoki saw Minato in deep thought, and with a smile on his face, he put his hands behind his back, walked slowly to Kuretsuchi's side, and said to Kuretsuchi, "Girl, tell me honestly, do you like Minato Namikaze?" Kuretsuchi was a little surprised when he heard this. He didn't expect his grandfather to be so direct and ask directly. He subconsciously looked in the direction of Minato. Suddenly, his face turned red again. He hesitated and said, "I like him, but I just don't know if he likes me." Onoki laughed when he heard this. "When you return to the village, pack your luggage and set off for Konoha village." "Ah, going to Konoha village so soon?" Kuretsuchi looked at his grandfather in surprise. Onoki was a little surprised when he heard this, looking at his granddaughter, looking up and down, where did his usually smart granddaughter go? He sighed, "You are stupid. He is the fourth Hokage of Konoha village, and you are the granddaughter of the third Tsuchikage of Iwagakure village. You two hardly meet each other, so why are you with him?" Kuretsuchi said in surprise, "This way I can be with him every day, and maybe we will have some relationship someday." Onoki saw his granddaughter being infatuated, and interrupted, "A man like him will definitely have many women in the future. If you go there now, you may be able to be a concubine or something, but don't worry, the stronger the man is, the stronger he will be in that aspect." You will definitely not be a widow in the future, Onoki vowed. Grandpa, you old man, how can you say such things to your granddaughter? I will ignore you. After saying that, he walked towards Minato with a snort. Onoki came back to his senses and shook his head slightly at the back of his granddaughter leaving. Does Hokage remember me? At this time, Minato heard a girl's voice, which sounded beside him. Minato turned his head and saw a pretty girl standing beside him. Minato smiled slightly. Of course I remember, you are the representative of the Rock Village for assistance this time. Seeing Minato smiling at him, Kuretsuchi's pretty face became red again. Seeing this, Minato couldn't help but step forward and put one hand on Kuretsuchi's forehead. After feeling a little hot, he looked at Kuretsuchi in front of him and said seriously, "Are you having a fever?" Quote. Kuretsuchi was overwhelmed by the man's strong masculine aura, and his whole body softened, and he fell directly into Minato's arms. Seeing this, Minato also hugged Kuretsuchi in his arms. For a while, their eyes met, and the atmosphere was somewhat ambiguous. It was then that Minato realized that the man was still in his arms. He quickly let go of his hand. Seeing this, Kuretsuchi also hurriedly moved away from Minato, feeling a little embarrassed. He didn't know what happened to him just now, and he suddenly fell on top of the man. Minato was also a little helpless when he saw Kuretsuchi with a shy face because he just remembered that he was a cheater with special skills drawn from the system. But the age is a bit that, after all, those between 15 and 40 years old are very attractive, so this range is a bit bad. At this time, Kuretsuchi looked at Minato, and then looked at Onoki not far away, and tiptoed slowly to Minato and said, "I don't need you to marry me, I just want to be with you, so that in the future, I will be yours, and when my grandfather dies, the Rock Village will also be yours." Minato was a little shocked when he heard this, and looked at the girl in front of him, and slowly said, "You are such a filial daughter. Aren't you afraid that your grandfather will hear it?" "Don't worry, anyway, my grandfather only has me as a granddaughter, and in the future, he is going to let me inherit the position of the third generation Tsuchikage," Kuretsuchi said disapprovingly. Ding, congratulations to the host for finding a sign-in target, the fourth generation Reikage. Do you want to sign in? The system's mechanical electronic sound once again sounded in Minato's mind. Minato looked calm when he heard this, sign in. Congratulations to the host for signing in successfully. The critical hit reward has been triggered and the lightning thunder fist has been injected into the host's body. As soon as the system's voice fell, Minato felt that the method of using the lightning thunder fist and the strange power of thunder and lightning appeared in his mind. Minato was a little shocked. This seemed to be a cultivation method in the zombie world. He didn't expect that the system would give him all this stuff. I remember that in the zombie world, this was the famous skill of the eldest brother of Maoshin. He used the lightning thunder fist to perfection. The man who was respected by many netizens in the previous life as the King of Thunder and Lightning, Uncle Ju used Taoist magic to kill ghosts, while the King of Thunder killed ghosts directly with physical transcendence, beating the ghosts to ashes, without even the chance of reincarnation. If there weren't so many people present, Minato would have wanted to try out the power of this full-level lightning thunder fist. But Minato was not in a hurry. He would try out the power of this lightning thunder fist himself after he returned. Seeing Minato in a daze, Kuretsuchi was a little curious, and then approached Minato and asked, "What's wrong with you, Hokage-sama?" Minato came back to his senses and said a little embarrassedly, "Sorry, I was just thinking about some problems." Minato thought to himself, "What's going on? I was distracted again." Then Hokage-sama, "Can I go to Konoha village to play in the future?" Kuretsuchi asked a little embarrassedly. Minato thought it was something else when he heard it, but it turned out to be so simple, so he didn't think much about it and said casually, "Of course, you are welcome to come to Konoha to play anytime." Kuretsuchi smiled happily on his collagen-filled face when he heard it, and his beautiful eyes kept turning in his eyes. "That's what you said, you can't lie to the little girl." After saying that, a pair of big eyes with spirits stared at Minato. Seeing this, Minato was at a loss. Why do women like to stare at him like this? Even so, Minato continued to deceive. "I am the Hokage of Konoha village, how could I lie to you?" As the saying goes, a gentleman's word is as good as a horse's. When Kuretsuchi heard Minato say this, he looked at Minato with his beautiful eyes, thinking to himself, if it really doesn't work, just listen to Grandpa, wait for this war to end, take your luggage and live directly in Konoha village. I believe that the Hokage will not ignore me, right? But on the surface, he still said, okay, in this case, I will go back first, and when this war is over, I will go to your Konoha village to play, and you must not be unwelcome when the time comes. After saying that, he left with a hopping step. Minato looked at the girl's cheerful back and couldn't help but feel a little overwhelmed. The people on the battlefield were also leaving one after another. After the medical ninjas from the Cloud Village arrived, they first checked the unconscious Killer Bee and the wounded Raikage on the battlefield, and confirmed that they were fine, and then breathed a sigh of relief. Then she walked to a place not far from Minato, bowed slightly and said, Hokage, we owe Konoha village 5 billion ryo, and we will pay it back as soon as possible. Minato glanced at the woman in front of him with wheat-colored skin, a pretty face, and a curvy figure. Not as soon as possible, but within a month, we must deliver 5 billion ryo to Konoha village in the Land of Fire. Do you understand what I said? Minato's indifferent words reached Ma Bui's ears, causing Ma Bui to tremble all over. Then she looked up at Minato and said, I understand, Hokage. After hearing this, Minato did not embarrass her anymore, but waved his hand to signal her to leave. Seeing this, Ma Bui felt as if she had been pardoned, and quickly wiped the sweat from her forehead. Then the people of the Cloud Shinobi village embraced the unconscious fourth Raikage and Killer Bee and left in a mighty manner. Minato saw Kakashi sitting cross-legged on the ground and resting, and couldn't help asking, Kakashi, you are not injured, are you? Kakashi heard this and shook his head slightly and said, sorry, teacher, I made you worry. But I'm fine, I just overused my chakra and my body is a little overdrawn. I should be fine after a few days of rest. Thanks to your great help, the fourth Hokage. Otherwise, I'm afraid I would fall into the hands of the Cloud Village this time, Onoki said with some emotion. You should all understand that when it comes to the 5 major ninja countries, in fact, if you hadn't been resurrected, the strongest should be the current Cloud Village. After all, although Konoha is still strong, it is actually just a paper tiger with a fierce appearance. It breaks at the touch, and there are a few Konoha termites that have torn Konoha apart. As for the Uchiha clan genocide 6 years ago, if you say that Sarutobi Hiruzen was not involved, I will not believe it even if you kill me. Minato looked at the people in front of him with a surprised look on his face. The old man thought to himself, it seems that the people in the Naruto world really can't be treated as two-dimensional paper people. Their IQs are all online. It seems that I am really not the protagonist. Then Onoki continued, Hokage, the reason why I can win this victory is all due to the help of the fourth Hokage and you. If it weren't for your help, I might have died on the battlefield. So, I want to invite everyone to have a meal in our Iwagakure, first to express our gratitude to everyone, and second to hope that Iwagakure and Konoha village will be together forever. Hearing this, Minato looked at the people in Konoha village and asked, what do you think? Everyone was slightly moved by what he said. They didn't expect that the Hokage would ask for their opinions. They were immediately moved and shouted in unison, we listen to the Hokage. Wherever the Hokage tells us to go, we will go. Okay, in that case, let's go to the Rock Village for a meal. Food. Everyone shouted in unison when they heard this, great. I haven't had a full meal for several days. Minato and Onoki smiled at each other, and they arrived at the Land of Earth, Iwagakure. Because there were too many people to be invited to the banquet, ordinary restaurants could not accommodate them, so Onoki simply invited many famous local chefs. The ninjas of Iwagakure also got along well with the ninjas of Konoha village, and the scene was thriving. By the way, do you know the Akatsuki organization? I saw that you knew a lot when you talked to me just now. Minato glanced at Onoki and asked casually. Hearing this, Onoki fell into deep thought, and after a while, he said, I have heard of this organization. It seems that they are all rebel ninjas from various countries. They were all established a few years ago. It is said that the leader of Akatsuki seems to be called Pain. Soon the food was ready, and everyone was drinking happily. Onoki looked at the people eating at the table and said with a red face, you are all pillars of Konoha, and each of you is an elite ninja. Then his eyes fell on Kakashi, and he slowly said, you are the Kakashi of Konoha. The so-called Konoha technician, the copy ninja Kakashi. Kakashi stood up immediately after hearing this, and said with a serious face, "Third Tsuchikage, you are too kind. The reason why I can have such strength is all due to the teaching of Minato-sensei." Minato smiled slightly when he saw this. "Kakashi, don't be too modest. I have also seen your training during this period of time." On the other side, everyone in the Cloud Village returned to the village. The two Yukitos showed a solemn look on their faces and said to the surrounding Cloud Village, "Hurry up and send the fourth Raikage and Killer Bee to the ninja hospital." Then he looked at Mabui, who was standing aside, and said, "We still owe Konoha village 5 billion taels. It is not a small matter to collect it within a month." Mabui's coffee-colored face showed a thoughtful look, and he said slowly, "In this case, I will go to the daimyo's mansion in the Land of Lightning with Darui to raise money." Quote, "I will go with you. The fourth Raikage of the Cloud Village has not woken up yet. It is too dangerous for you to go alone," said the two Yukitos beside him. "In that case, Darui, the Cloud Village and the Raikage are in your hands," the two Yukitos said helplessly. Darui's lazy expression became serious when he heard this, and he slowly said, "Leave the Cloud Village to me." Seeing this, the two nodded slowly, and then rushed to the daimyo's mansion in the Land of Lightning. After Minato and others finished their meal, they said goodbye to Onoki, left the Land of Earth, and returned to Konoha village. Time passed so quickly, and it has been almost half a month since they left Konoha village. Minato looked at Kakashi and said, "Kakashi, I have something to do, so I'll go first. You, Yuhi Kurenai, and Hiyashi, lead the ninja troops and be careful along the way," Minato said, and without waiting for Kakashi to answer, he disappeared in front of everyone. Seeing this, everyone was slightly stunned and then reacted, and couldn't help showing envy on their faces. At this time, someone in the crowd said, "Speaking of which, this Flying Thunder God technique is very useful. I wish I could learn it." At this time, Kakashi slowly said, "Okay, everyone, be quiet from now on. Everyone, move forward at full speed and try to reach Konoha village within 3 days." Everyone shut up when they heard this. Kakashi is not only the disciple of the fourth Hokage, but also the strongest among them. They still respect Kakashi very much. On the other side, Minato returned to the Hokage building. As soon as he arrived in the Hokage's office, he saw a beautiful and mature lady sitting on a chair, handling documents on the table. This scene was extremely beautiful. This woman was exactly Unohana Retsu, who was summoned by Minato some time ago. The woman, who was processing the documents on the table seriously, seemed to notice that someone was looking at her. She slowly raised her gentle face, and her beautiful eyes were like autumn water, looking at Minato with rippling light. Suddenly, a flawless smile appeared on her fair and rosy face. Minato was slightly stunned when he saw this, and couldn't help but sigh in his heart, "It's so beautiful." No wonder in the previous life, novels often said that the protagonist was stunned when seeing a beautiful woman. Just look at Sister Hua's smile, which man can bear it? Looking at Minato, he said, "Minato-kun, you are back. Is the support to the Rock Village going smoothly this time?" Unohana Retsu's voice was very soft and crisp, as beautiful as a spring, refreshing. "It's okay, everything is going well," Minato said, while looking around for something, and saw Unohana Retsu, who had black and smooth hair tied into 2 braids, picked up a cup and walked to Minato's side and handed it to Minato. Minato picked up the cup and drank it, and then talked to Unohana Retsu about the war between Rock Village and Cloud Village. Time flies, and in the blink of an eye, a year has passed. What makes Minato feel strange is that the Akatsuki organization has not made any moves, which also makes Minato feel very strange. On the other side, a blonde boy, wearing a black high-collared windbreaker and black pants. Asked the black-haired boy on the other side, "Why do you think Dad always asks us to practice physical skills?" The black-haired boy on the side heard this and shook his head and said, "I don't know, but the Hokage people should have their own plans. We don't need to know, we just need to practice well." Quote, "The two people are Naruto and Sasuke. By the way, Sasuke, today Rukia and Unohana have made delicious meals, you can come to our house to eat." Sasuke was a little moved when he heard this. After all, Rukia's meals are really good and delicious, but he still said proudly, "I won't go, you can go home and eat by yourself. I'm going to continue practicing." Naruto's eyes rolled when he heard this, and then he said, Today, my family made braised fish, are you sure you don't want to go? Sasuke heard this. In that case, then go. Because of Minato's interference, Sasuke is no longer like the guy who fell into darkness for revenge like Uchiha Itachi in the original work, but an excellent genin with a calm personality and few words. Naruto smiled and said, that's right. Then they walked towards Minato's house. Sasuke turned his head and looked at Naruto and said, do you think I can kill Uchiha Itachi now? Naruto touched his chin and did not answer Sasuke's question. Instead, he looked at Sasuke and said, you know that everything was done by Sarutobi Hiruzen. Do you still want to kill him? Sasuke's eyes slowly turned scarlet when he heard this. 3 black magatama appeared in his scarlet pupils and slowly rotated in his eyes. A somewhat cold and low voice sounded, Uchiha Itachi must die, otherwise he will be sorry for his dead parents and those dead clansmen. He obviously has a better choice, why did he choose to exterminate the clan? Hearing this, the smile on Naruto's face gradually disappeared, and then patted Sasuke on the shoulder. It's okay, Dad said that as long as you open the Mangekyo Sharingan, you can definitely kill Uchiha Itachi, and don't you still have the ghost way that Dad taught us? Sasuke smiled on his somewhat cold face and said slowly, okay, let's go home quickly. Naruto nodded when he heard it, and the two jumped onto the trees and disappeared in a few flashes. Elsewhere, in the desert area of the Wind Country, 2 people wearing Akatsuki uniforms were walking in the desert. These 2 people were Deidara and Scorpion of the Red Sand. The task assigned to them by the leader Pain was to capture Shukaku, the one-tailed ninja village of the Wind Country. You said the leader asked us to capture the tailed beasts to achieve peace in the ninja world. Do you believe it? Deidara said nonchalantly. Upon hearing this, the Red Sand Scorpion looked at Deidara indifferently, and continued to think about his life as a figure. Seeing this, Deidara completely lost interest in communication. Soon, the 2 of them found that Gaara, who was heading to the daimyo's mansion in the Wind Country, was also the 5th generation Wind Shadow of the current Sand Village. Gaara was moving forward, his eyebrows raised, and the red word love on his forehead was now brighter. Everyone be careful. As soon as Gaara's voice landed, he heard an explosion in the sand. Several Chunins also avoided the attack here with Gaara's reminder. Quote, when several people saw the attack in front of them, cold sweat continued to flow down their foreheads, reflecting the unrest in their hearts. Gaara's eyes were fixed on the sand dunes not far away, and he saw 2 people standing on them. When the 2 saw that they were discovered, they slowly walked out. Deidara looked at Gaara, who was not very old, at most 15 or 16 years old, and couldn't help but pursed his lips and said, why is he just a little brat? It takes 2 of us to do this, I can handle it myself. Quote, seeing this, the Red Sand Scorpion glanced at Gaara and stood aside, apparently not ready to participate in this battle. Seeing this, Gaara's young face showed a solemn look, and he also knew that the other party was not a small character. 2 white insects appeared in Deidara's hands and crawled towards Gaara not far away. At the same time, 2 white balls appeared in Deidara's hands. These 2 were the clay bombs of Deidara's own ninjutsu. Seeing this, Gaara's eyes condensed and he quickly dodged and jumped away. At the same time, the gourd on his back overflowed with golden sand, slowly surrounding Gaara's figure. You guys should return to the Sand Village quickly now, inform Elder Chio and Elder Ebizo, and go back to take strict precautions. When the few people heard this, their faces changed slightly. We are leaving, what will you do, Lord Casecage? One of the sand ninjas said anxiously. Hearing this, Gaara slowly said, don't worry, I'm fine, they can't kill me. So you don't have to worry. Quote, several people nodded and said, okay, Master Casecage, let's go back and let Elder Chio lead everyone to support you. After that, they ran away. Seeing this, Scorpion manipulated the puppet to kill the fleeing people. Gaara on the side saw this and quickly manipulated the sand to shine on the fleeing people, trying to protect them. You guy, you dare to ignore my art, I will blow you into Patrick, Deidara, who was fighting with Gaara, said angrily. Then I saw the 2 mouths on Deidara's hands biting the clay in his hands frantically, and then he made seals with his hands. Explosion. C4 Garuda. Quote, the clay in Deidara's hands slowly turned into a giant bird made of clay. Countless small spiders came out of the bird's mouth and fell from the sky, hitting Gaara below. Seeing this, Gaara threw the S and blocking the top of their heads. As Gaara summoned the sand, the ninjas from the sand village were not so lucky. Ah, puff, puff. The ninjas from the sand village who followed Gaara screamed miserably, and fell one after another in a pool of blood. The spirit in their eyes gradually disappeared, and their vitality was also fading rapidly. Soon, they were all dead. Seeing this, the red sand scorpion looked at Gaara not far away with a pair of calm eyes. At this time, a teasing voice sounded, "You are playing too fast." Red sand scorpion. When Gaara heard the name, his pupils shrank suddenly, and then he looked at the forehead protector on the other's head. It was the forehead protector of the sand village, but there was a horizontal scratch on it. "You are the grandson of Elder Chio, the red sand scorpion, right?" Gaara's somewhat shocked voice sounded. The red sand scorpion just glanced at Gaara and had no intention of answering him. At this time, the sixth man in the sky, Deidara, saw Gaara communicating with the red sand scorpion, so he controlled the clay bird under his feet and smashed it towards Gaara below. It must be said that Gaara was still too young. Because Gaara was not prepared, he directly endured the blow and was beaten directly into the pit, not knowing whether he was alive or dead. Bah, this stinky kid is the fifth generation Wind Shadow of the Sand Village. It seems that there is really no one left in the Sand Village. Suddenly, Deidara, who was talking endlessly and speaking his own words, suddenly closed his mouth. Because he saw that the red sand scorpion was looking at him with a dangerous look, he simply stopped talking. Seeing that Deidara was silent, Scorpion slowly carried Gaara and said slowly, "Since the mission has been completed, let's go back to the base and report to the leader." Deidara on the side heard this and nodded, indicating that he agreed. In the Akatsuki base, everyone, led by Tendo Pain, had gathered in a dark and damp cave. Pain's eyes, without any emotion, slowly swept over everyone present. Seeing that almost everyone had arrived, he said, "Now we can start to peel the one tail out of the body of the Jinchuriki." Everyone nodded when they heard it, and shouted at the same time with their hands in seals. Sealing technique. 9 sealings of the Phantom Dragon. As everyone performed this ninjutsu together, a chain was slowly spit out from the mouth of the huge monster behind them, and then it sank into Gaara's body. Then, around Gaara's body, streams of tailed beast chakra began to radiate outward. Gaara's originally calm face gradually became ferocious. It can be seen that the blue veins on his forehead were bulging due to pain, and deafening roars were constantly ringing. "You fools, let me go quickly, don't wait for me to break free. If I run out, I will blow you all up with my tailed beast ball," said the one-tailed Shukaku angrily. The crowd ignored the one-tailed Shukaku's shouting, and soon the one-tailed Shukaku was pulled into the mouth of the Outer Path Demon statue, and the eyes of the Outer Path Demon statue were still closed. Then the one-tailed Shukaku was sucked into the mobile toilet of the Outer Path Demon statue, and then the Outer Path Demon statue, which had originally closed 9 eyes, suddenly opened one. On the other side, Sasuke and Naruto walked home and saw Rukia with her hair tied into a ponytail came out and said to the two of them, "You're back, go wash your hands." The two of them answered in unison, "Okay, Sister Rukia." "Wow, it smells so good. Rukia, your cooking skills have improved again." Minato couldn't help but admire the fragrance that kept coming out of the kitchen. Minato looked at Rukia in front of him, feeling a little emotional. Rukia was now wearing a long blue dress. In a year, Rukia's short hair had been tied into a side ponytail. This was exactly what Rukia looked like when she was the captain of the 13th Court Guard Squad in the Thousand-Year Blood War and Hell chapters of the Bleach manga. However, compared with the Rukia in the Bleach manga, the current Rukia's face was still a little immature. After all, the Rukia in the Hell chapter was who knows how many years later. Minato looked at Rukia in front of him, feeling a little emotional. He didn't expect Rukia to tie up her hair so quickly. This side ponytail, remember that this side ponytail was tied up after the end of the Hell chapter of the Bleach. Rukia saw that Minato was looking at her all the time, and a faint blush rose on her delicate, flawless little face. Minato saw Rukia's appearance, walked up to her and pulled her into his arms, and put his right hand on her slender and soft waist, but did not take the next step. Ahem. A voice broke the warm scene between the two, and the two slowly separated. Then they saw Unohana Retsu, with a pair of beautiful eyes looking at the two. The two were slightly stunned when they saw Unohana Retsu's appearance. It seemed that Unohana Retsu had also dressed up carefully. No longer tied a big braid on her chest, but like a female character Sister Da Chao in the game played by Minato in his previous life, she hung a long braid on her back, the length of which reached her hips. The scar on her chest also disappeared, and under Unohana's snow-white neck and collarbone, it vividly demonstrated what it meant to be the first nanny in Soul Society. At this time, noticing the eyes of Minato and the others looking at her, Sister Wa slowly stood up, moved lightly with lotus steps, and her slender and soft waist slightly bent. An exquisite and beautiful face slowly approached, and an intoxicating fragrance of dragon orchid came. However, watching Sister Wa lean forward, Minato looked at the pair of plump and firm jade rabbits, and couldn't help but take a breath, because such a scene is really rare. Minato felt the softness in front of him, and his breathing became rapid. Seeing this, Rukia on the side slightly raised her small mouth into a touching smile. Quietly came to the kitchen, looking at Naruto and Sasuke who were desperate in the kitchen, smiled slightly, and handed the 2 lunch boxes that had been made to the two. When the two heard this, Sasuke was a little confused. Naruto heard this and gave Rukia a thumbs up, showing his white teeth. Seeing this, Rukia came forward to help Naruto and tidied up his wrinkled collar. You two don't need to practice today. I'll give you two a half-day holiday. You can use this money to buy some delicious food. Rukia took out 5,000 taels from her arms and handed it to Naruto. Naruto was not polite when he saw this, and directly took the 5,000 taels and put it in his pocket, thanked Rukia, and jumped out of the window with Sasuke, disappearing. Seeing this, Rukia shook her head slightly and turned to leave the kitchen. Naruto and Sasuke walked to the street not far from home. Sasuke looked at the smile on Naruto's face. He couldn't help asking, "It seems that Sister Rukia treats you very well." When Sasuke said this, he felt envious. Hearing this, Naruto slowly said, "Of course, Sister Rukia has never scolded me in this year. She takes care of me like a mother. Sister Unohana is the same. She treats me like her own son. So, I have always regarded them as the closest people to me, just like a mother." Sasuke said, "Then you still call them sister?" Naruto looked at Sasuke and said, "What do you know, Rukia and Unohana, they are so beautiful, what should we call them if not sister, aunt?" Of course, all this was popularized by Minato to Naruto. This knowledge point made Naruto not be a middle school boy like in the original book, but gradually become a business elite who can read people's words. Although Sasuke didn't quite understand, he nodded. Naruto said, and put one hand on Sasuke's shoulder. The two walked towards the most prosperous street of Konoha village with their arms around each other. Along the way, many Konoha civilians greeted Naruto when they saw him. "Hello, Master Naruto. Master Naruto is so handsome." Naruto responded with a smile, but in his heart, Naruto was not moved at all. After a year of Minato's ideological influence, Naruto can now correctly distinguish right from wrong. "If it wasn't for my father, who was resurrected by chance, I would still be kept in the dark. I am still foolishly pursuing my own will of fire and working hard to become a Hokage." Sasuke, who was watching everyone, was happy for Naruto's enthusiasm. Sasuke couldn't help but feel a little more resentful towards his father, Uchiha Fugaku, especially when he learned that Uchiha Fugaku was deliberately killed. Uchiha Sasuke hated Uchiha Fugaku as a father. Because from childhood to adulthood, no matter how good or outstanding he was, in his father's eyes, he would never be as good as his brother Uchiha Itachi. Sasuke had never thought about these things before. After practicing with Minato Namikaze, he also knew that the other party was powerful. Slowly, Uchiha Sasuke gradually found that he was not so eager to take revenge, because Sasuke felt that he was growing very fast with the other party. And his father said that in order to survive, he was willing to die and let the Uchiha clan disappear completely in the dust of history. For the current Uchiha Sasuke, that was the performance of a waste. Especially after he learned from the Hokage that the person the Hokage admired most in the entire ninja world was his ancestor, Uchiha Madara, Sasuke was completely stunned. "Hey, Sasuke Naruto," a voice came from a distance. The two looked in the direction of the voice and saw a girl with pink hair walking towards Naruto and the others. Seeing this, Naruto looked at Sakura who came over. "Mayday, cheer up, gestured to Sasuke on the side, and then turned and left. The two looked at Naruto's back as he left. Naruto has changed so much. Sakura's surprised voice slowly sounded. On the other side, Unohana Retsu's pair of jade hands slowly touched Minato's cheeks. Minato reached out and held them. Unohana Retsu was stroking his hand. Unohana Retsu was slightly stunned when he saw this, and then smiled slightly. She said softly, "Thank you for the pill you gave me yesterday. If it weren't for your pill, the scar on my chest would never disappear." It turned out that last night, Minato saw the scar on Unohana's chest, so he bought 2 anti-aging pills in the system mall, one for Unohana Retsu and the other for Rukia. However, these 2 anti-aging pills cost Minato 20 points, which almost wiped out his originally limited points. Minato looked at his points and found that he had 50 points left, which was his gain for the past year. However, Minato didn't feel bad about spending it like this, because it was for his own people. At this time, Minato reacted and asked, "I remember that Naruto and Sasuke seemed to have come just now, why is there no one here now?" Rukia said, "Naruto and Sasuke did come just now, but they just took a look and left." Minato nodded when he heard Rukia say this, and said, "In that case, let's eat first." Unohana Retsu also nodded slightly when he heard this. After the 3 of them finished their meal, they all came to the Hokage's office. However, not long after they arrived, there was a knock on the office door. Knock, knock, knock. Minato was a little puzzled when he heard this. He had already dealt with some affairs of Konoha, and it was almost done. Who was looking for him now? Minato still said to the outside of the door, "Please come in." Then he saw Azuki Yugao, who was wearing a tight Anbu uniform, walked in, knelt on one knee and said, "Hokage, this is Captain Kakashi. Some of the information he found when he was on a mission outside is in this scroll." After that, he handed the seal scroll to Minato. Seeing this, Minato took it and opened it. He frowned slightly and asked, "When did you receive this scroll?" "Just an hour ago, but the Hokage didn't come at that time." Azuki Yugao replied calmly. Minato nodded slightly after hearing this, and then said, "Thank you for your hard work, you can go down first." After hearing this, Azuki Yugao slowly retreated and closed the door of the Hokage's office. Unohana Retsu, who was standing by, saw this and hurried over with a cup of tea and asked, "What's wrong? You don't look very good." Seeing this, Rukia also hurriedly said, "Yes. Is there something wrong?" Minato saw the worried looks on the faces of the 2 women and explained, "It's nothing serious. It's just that Akatsuki organization I told you about before. Kakashi has found some clues about them." "Then Kakashi didn't fight with those guys?" Rukia said slowly. Minato waved his hand after hearing this and said, "That's not the case. When Kakashi arrived at the place where the 2 sides were fighting, the battle had already ended. But some parts of dolls were found there, so I guess this matter was done by Akatsuki organization. But I don't know who they fought with, and there were several craters formed by explosions on the battlefield. It should be the red sand scorpion." Rukia also expressed her opinion. Upon hearing this, Minato nodded and agreed with Rukia's guess. In fact, Rukia was not wrong. In the original work, it was the red sand scorpion and Deidara of the Akatsuki organization who captured Gaara. I remember that in the original work, one of them blocked the gate of the Sand Village and prevented the Sand Village from supporting Gaara. But now, for some reason, the plot has shifted again. The 2 figures are obviously going for Shukaku, the one-tailed beast. Obviously, the Akatsuki organization's plan to collect tailed beasts was started a year ago. The current time is a full year later than the original plot. Azuki Yugao, who had just left, returned to the Hokage's office and replied, "Hokage, we have detected the figure of Kakashi's team outside Konoha village, and Tsunade-sama, one of the 3 ninjas, is also with them." This report from Azuki Yugao really surprised Minato. Minato stood up slowly. Tsunade is such a woman. He invited her to return to Konoha village to serve as the director of the medical department, but she told him to think about it. It took a year to think about it. That's really long, Minato said with a wry smile and shook his head. Okay, I know. Tell them that Princess Tsunade of Konoha is back, Minato said to Azuki Yugao beside him. Yes, Hokage-sama. Rukia on the side heard this, her beautiful eyes flickered slightly, and she looked at Unohana Retsu beside her, and they both understood the meaning in each other's eyes. Who is this Tsunade, brother Minato? Rukia suddenly asked. Is she an acquaintance of mine? It's just that she hasn't been in the village for many years. I came back this time to fulfill the promise I made to her a year ago. Remember last year, I went out for a while, and it was during that time that I met Tsunade at the border of the Land of Fire. Rukia nodded when she heard this, and Sister Wa also got a rough idea, but she was a smart woman, and there were some things that she didn't need to ask about, and there were some things that she should know, and Minato would naturally tell her. Both women were extremely smart, so there was no need to say it clearly. Rukia saw that Minato had no intention of continuing. She changed the subject and said, Brother Minato, since he is your old friend whom you haven't seen for many years, shouldn't we go and welcome him? Minato nodded slowly when he heard this and said, okay, in that case, let's go. As they spoke, the three disappeared, and when they appeared again, they were at the entrance of Konoha village, which scared the two gate gods, Azumo Komatsuki and Tetsu Koko, who were guarding the gate. After a long while, the two of them saw who was coming, and they quickly bowed to Minato and the other two and said, hello, Lord Hokage, and the two Hokage wives. Minato was a little surprised to see this, and he didn't expect these two guys to be so good at making trouble. Rukia and Unohana Retsu were stunned at first, then reacted, and a beautiful and delicate face showed a charming smile, without saying anything. Minato looked at several figures appearing not far away, and smiled. The same few people also saw Minato and the other two standing at the entrance of Konoha village. Tsunade saw the two women beside Minato, and her willow leaf eyebrows slightly frowned, looking at Rukia and the other two women beside Minato. Unohana Retsu saw this and walked forward, slowly holding Minato's arm with a pair of slender hands. Seeing this, Rukia also walked forward and stretched out her hand to hold Minato's other arm. Minato felt the softness of the two women's chests, and felt a little strange in his heart. If Tsunade hadn't come, Minato would have gone home and killed these two women right here. Tsunade, who was standing by, saw this, frowned slightly, looked at Minato with a bad look and said, Minato. Minato, I didn't expect your family to become like this, are you worthy of Kushina? Minato raised his eyebrows slightly, pulled his hands out of the soft parts of the two women, and said slowly, Sister Tsunade, I am also a normal man. I have been in hell for so many years, and now I am finally resurrected, I have to release it, do I have to solve it myself? Tsunade was a little surprised when she heard Minato's speech. She couldn't believe that such words came from the mouth of the guy who loved his wife, and then shook her head. After all, whoever stays in the belly of the god of death for so long, it is easy to have problems with his mind. Why, don't you introduce me to your two little wives? Tsunade said with a mocking tone. But to be honest, Minato's vision is really sharp. These two women are not worse than himself in terms of appearance. If we have to compare, we can only say that they have their own merits. Both of them are not bad, Tsunade thought to herself. Before Minato could speak, Rukia on the side spoke first. Hello, I am Minato's cook. Sister Wa is Minato's secretary. After saying that, Rukia looked at Minato shyly and said nothing more. Tsunade on the side heard this, nodded and said seriously, you should have heard of my name, Tsunade, one of the three ninjas. Minato was speechless when he heard this. To put it nicely, it is one of the three ninjas. This is the name given by Hanzo of the Salamander to Tsunade and the other three because of his admiration for their courage. Minato really didn't know what Tsunade was thinking, bringing up the name of one of the three ninjas, but Minato was not going to point it out. Kakashi and the team had already left when Minato and Tsunade were reminiscing about the past. There were not many people present now, only Minato and his 5 companions. Shizune, who was standing by, saw that they had almost finished chatting, and took a few steps forward. She bowed to Minato and said, long time no see, Hokage. Shizune looked at Minato's handsome face, and her heartbeat accelerated unconsciously. Minato saw Shizune greet him, yes. Long time no see, Shizune. Minato saw Shizune's look, and he sighed in his heart. The power of the system is really strong. Hey, Minato, why are there only the 3 of you to welcome me? Tsunade said to Minato. How is it possible? After all, You are the princess of the land of fire, and they are all waiting for you inside, Minato said with a smile. Hearing this, Tsunade nodded with satisfaction, and her charming little face showed a smile, and walked with Minato and his companions. When Minato started walking, he suddenly realized that the three women were lagging behind him. Step. Minato felt the actions of the three people and was a little helpless. He could understand Tsunade's behavior, but Rukia and the other two were like this. Minato was still very happy in his heart. At least the attitude of the three women represented Minato's position in their hearts. Minato smiled slightly, with a bright smile on his face. He didn't care and continued to lead the three women forward. Tsunade seemed to have discovered Minato's intention and walked forward step by step. It seemed that they were not in a hurry at all. When the five people walked into Konoha village, half an hour had passed. It took so long to walk this distance. It must be said that it was really slow. If it weren't for the fact that the temperaments of the few people were relatively quiet, they might not be able to bear it. Tsunade's words were fine. This woman was just giving face to herself, the fourth Hokage. The Konoha civilians not far away saw Minato and the others chatting and began to talk. It's Hokage-sama, Lady Rukia and Lady Unohana. The woman next to him is Lady Tsunade. This is really God's will. I never thought that one day, we would be able to wait for Lady Tsunade's return. It's incredible. By the way, did we see Captain Kakashi leading a few people over just now? An old man in the crowd sighed. I remember the last time we welcomed Lady Tsunade was more than 10 years ago, almost 20 years ago. The fourth Hokage is still awesome. When that old man Sarutobi Hiruzen was there, the three ninjas left Konoha. Now that the fourth Hokage is back, the three ninjas seem to have all returned, but it seems that one of the three ninjas, Lord Jiraiya, has left Konoha again for some reason. Another person heard this and couldn't help but say, this is the magnanimity of Hokage-sama. What do you know? Don't be so dignified all the time, like a fool. This is the charm of the fourth Hokage. Don't you see the two beauties beside him? If the fourth Hokage is not charming enough, how can he conquer them? Quote. A civilian in the crowd said, the fourth Hokage is charming, but I think Sarutobi Hiruzen is the best. That old man has problems, otherwise why would the three ninjas leave Konoha? Unfortunately, the Senju clan has disappeared from the ninja world due to the harm done by Sarutobi Hiruzen and the Konoha elders. This is really the tragedy of Konoha. Now even the Uchiha clan has been destroyed by the third generation. These old guys are simply the borers of Konoha. I have to say, if Tsunade-sama and the fourth Kai were together, it would have been great. Maybe Tsunade-sama would not have left the village. Another one, seeing this, hurriedly stopped him and said, are you crazy? How can you say such things? Besides, the age difference between them is quite big. Tisk, what does it have to do with this? Besides, Tsunade-sama has not changed in appearance after so many years. Her figure has become even hotter than before. The civilian who spoke turned around and looked around. After making sure that Minato and the others had gone far away, he whispered, do you still remember Tsunade-sama's lover? Are you talking about Kato-dan? A Konoha civilian suddenly interrupted. The people around looked at the middle-aged man, then looked at the civilian who spoke, wanting to hear his opinion. Look, why didn't Tsunade-sama be with Jiraiya-sama or Orochimaru-sama, but chose to be with a civilian ninja? I heard from my dad that the best ninja back then was Orochimaru-sama. What's wrong with you? Maybe it was Kato-dan, he's handsome. At this time, someone else said, but Orochimaru-sama is also very handsome. Then he added, do you think it's Sarutobi Hiruzen and the others who did it again? Minato didn't know about their conversation. If Minato knew, he would definitely say, congratulations, young man, you discovered the truth of history. Then I heard a little girl say, Dad, who is Tsunade-sama? The man heard this and stroked his daughter's head and said, Tsunade-sama is one of the three ninjas of Konoha. The little girl nodded in confusion. When Minato and his friends came inside, they saw a group of people holding a sign with 4 big characters on it, welcome home. After seeing this, Tsunade's beautiful eyes turned red. It had been many years since she felt at home. She was still a little hesitant about whether to come to Konoha, because if it weren't for the agreement with Minato, she would probably never come to Konoha in her life. But now seeing this scene, Tsunade felt the sense of belonging to go home again, which was really unexpected. Seeing this, Tsunade also showed a guilty look on her face and said to everyone, "Thank you, everyone." Then she looked at everyone, sighed, and bowed directly to everyone in Konoha. Everyone was shocked when they saw this. I don't know what Tsunade is going to do. Tsunade raised her head, with tears on her bright and beautiful face. She felt a little sorry for everyone after leaving Konoha for so long. I should have walked out of the shadow of losing my brother and lover earlier. As soon as the words fell, everyone in Konoha village smiled happily. Is this Tsunade, one of the famous 3 ninjas? It was a little different from what they thought before. They thought Tsunade would be very arrogant, but they didn't expect her to be so peaceful. People who know Tsunade, they smiled slightly. Tsunade is still so unconventional. Rukia and Unohana saw this, and there was a hint of surprise in their beautiful eyes. Obviously, they didn't expect that the other party would do this. It was beyond the expectations of the 2 women. At this time, 2 figures walked slowly not far away. These 2 people were Orochimaru and Uzumaki Naruto, who turned into a street urchin. Naruto had taken a bath and was going to visit Hinata and Hanabi in the Hyuga clan. Unexpectedly, he ran into Orochimaru, one of the 3 ninjas, just after coming out of the bathhouse, and heard the news that Tsunade had returned to the village. So the 2 of them came together. At this time, Orochimaru showed a sinister smile on his pale and sick face and said, "Naruto, please watch a show." After that, Orochimaru disappeared. Seeing this, Naruto smiled helplessly and walked towards Minato and his companions. At this moment, Minato frowned slightly, feeling that there was no killing intention, so the few people did not care, turned their heads and looked back, with some confusion in their eyes. At the same time, Tsunade, as a cage-level strongman, of course found something wrong. How could someone with such strength approach without noticing it? Moreover, the opponent's speed was very fast, and such speed was not something that a Jonin could have. At the gate of Konoha, he could enter and exit at such a speed. The opponent's strength might have reached the level of Kage, ranks of super powerful people. Tsunade felt the breath of chakra and couldn't help clenching her teeth. This breath of chakra was of course very familiar to Tsunade, and she quickly analyzed the identity of the person who came. "You guy, are you really not afraid of death?" Tsunade turned around and saw the person clearly, then used the chakra in her body and smashed it on the ground. Bang! The moment the fist collided with the ground, a dull sound was made. Seeing this, Unohana Retsu on the side quickly cast a ghost barrier to cover everything around, so that the attacks of the 2 would not hurt innocent people and destroy the surrounding houses. Seeing this, the villagers thanked Unohana Retsu one after another. Sister Wa on the side also smiled and responded to everyone when she saw this scene. "Who is this woman? She can actually fight with Mr. Orochimaru," Naruto said in shock as he looked at everything in front of him. In the crowd, Sasuke, who was dating Sakura, looked a little serious when he saw this scene. "Who is this woman? Since she can fight with Orochimaru. This woman is really cool." Sakura stared at Tsunade and said admiringly. Tsunade's attack was so powerful that the surrounding ground was directly smashed by Tsunade's huge power. The entire ground was directly concave, and the small gravel was directly crushed into powder. "You are too cruel. You are simply trying to kill me." Orochimaru's hoarse voice sounded. Although the voice sounded a little hoarse, it was not difficult to hear that the other party did not care about Tsunade's strength and identity at all. Everyone looked in the direction of the voice and saw a feminine man with long hair down to his waist slowly walking over. Orochimaru. Tsunade saw Orochimaru's figure, roared, and then punched Orochimaru. Orochimaru frowned slightly and shouted softly, "Hidden snake hand." Then, countless snakes flew out of Orochimaru's sleeves and bit Tsunade. Seeing this, Tsunade raised her eyebrows and turned around to kick the flying snakes. For a moment, the blood and flesh of the broken snakes flew everywhere and fell to the ground. Minato, who was standing by, was slightly stunned when he saw this. He didn't expect that Orochimaru's hidden snake hand was actually a real snake. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.